Hello there, YouTube. Welcome to the Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. We're just going to start right up off all the words. We're going to start right off the bat and see where this takes us. I'm hoping we just jump straight into the London courts. Maybe we'll actually going back to Japan with Susato. Who knows? I'm definitely not ready, by the way. Oh god. Wait, no. Did I start Great Ace Attorney? Did I start Zonky 0? Okay, thank god.
Standing here in the bright sunshine, looking out over the vast ocean. Those days in London seem like a dream. But I do miss my time in England's vast capital. You know, he's flourished into a truly wonderful lawyer. I've no doubt that at this very moment, he's fighting some noble cause in court. Forgive me for taking so long to come to visit you. My life has been such a whirlwind since I returned. And no one could have predicted what has happened. Just 2 months after arriving home.
Oh no. She finds herself faced with another awful crime? What?
So I came here today to ask something of you. Tomorrow, I shall be standing in court. For the only time in my life. As a lawyer. So please, I ask for your guidance. Kazuma-sama.
Why his guidance? Why not mine? You can use my guidance all you want. Episode 1. The Adventure of the Blossoming Attorney. Cool. So yes, we are back in Japan. We're playing as Susato this time. 13th August, 8:26 a.m. Supreme Court of Judicature. Defendant's Antechamber. 3. Here I am again after 9 months. Supreme Court of Judicature of Japan. When I get back into the groove of things, I'll start doing my stupid little voices. I feel so nervous, but I must steel my nerves and find a way to compose myself. Oh, her dad's okay. Oh, good, you're here. Doesn't do for a lawyer to be late. Oh, yes, good morning, sir. I hardly recognize you. You cut a fine figure, counsel. Let's lower the volume down just a tad. But you look as white as a sheet, and those white eyes aren't doing you any favors either. Oh dear. The truth is, I'm so incredibly nervous I feel utterly nauseated. I almost wish that I'd never been born. Goodness. Well, the sort of thing a father hopes to hear from his daughter, I must say. Yujin Mikotoba, professor of medicine at the Imperial Yume University. A man who, earlier in his life, traveled to Great Britain to study the latest advances in forensic medical science. And, of course, my brilliant father. Excuse me. Would I be correct in thinking that you're to be my lawyer in court today? Yes. Yes, that's right, miss. Well, I want to thank you for agreeing to represent me. I swear on my life. It's a complete fabrication, this whole thing. Ray Membami. There we go. Membami. Born the same year as I and my greatest friend. Oh, it's Larry Butts, but for Sato. Though unusual for a woman in our time, she works at the University Research Laboratory, helping my father. I'm pressing R1. I want to see how old she is. I want to see how old Susato is. I've forgotten. But guess what? I don't have the court record yet. New game, lol. And sadly, she's the defendant in today's trial, accused of committing a truly awful murder. Giselle Brett from the first game. Thank God. Are you feeling all right? Since we started talking, you seem, well, to have become a little flushed. Oh my, it's just that you look so gallant and dashing. Sorry? And when I fall under your intense gaze, it makes me feel rather bashful. Goodness. I don't think she knows. She hasn't realized who I am. Dad laugh. We gotta laugh like a dad. It would seem our little plan for this trial is going to work. Oh, what do you mean, Professor Mikotoba? Even your best friend can't see through the disguise, I think we can relax. Disguise? Yes, I've never tried dressing this way before, of course, so I wasn't sure how convincing it would be. But this does make me feel a little relieved, as you say, Father. Oh my God. Father? What? Is that you, Susato? I'm so sorry I didn't say something sooner, Ray. It's just that... No! What are you doing? What's going on? What? That varsity uniform, that varsity cap, that varsity cape, that varsity badge. Look at you. You look for all the world just like a student of the Imperial Yume University. A male student. I'm so glad you think so. It means all my preparations have been worthwhile. I woke at 4 this morning to make a start. But I don't understand. Why are you dressed like that? Well, you see... It was the only way. The only way she would be permitted into the Supreme Court to take on your defense in this trial. My defense? Damn straight. Never before in my life have I felt so frustrated at having been born into this body. Courts in Japan are barred to women. We're not even allowed to set foot inside the courtroom, despite the fact that the laws of the land apply to all people, male and female alike. But women are forbidden. Just for today, I'll be leaving my true self at the courtroom door, so that I can act as your lawyer. Oh, Susato, you'd go to such lengths for me? Of course. You're my greatest friend. I just worry that I shan't be the lawyer you deserve. No, I have complete faith in you. Ray. It's so strange, though. I mean, you're such an accomplished judicial assistant already, and yet just because you're a woman. What a wretched reason! I mean, why shouldn't you be allowed in court? You're so gallant and dashing. Ray. Please don't look at me like that. Those flushed cheeks and doting eyes. Oh, I'm sorry, it's just... You really do look so dashing. Yes, you mentioned that once or twice. You should be pleased. It means you look convincing as a man. I am pleased, I think. It certainly helped to bolster my confidence today. Ray, you managed to put on a brave face in all of this, but I can see through it. I've noticed how your shoulders are slumped, and how you're trembling ever so slightly. Susato, you do believe me, don't you? I didn't do it. I couldn't have. I mean, murder. Of course. You have nothing to worry about. Your conscience is perfectly clean. Isn't that right? Yes. Yes, it is. Perfectly clean. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind about your innocence. Which is why I'll stand by you until the bitter end in this trial. Whatever happens, I'll always be on your side. Oh man, I can't wait to unveil every little dirty little thing in this case. Oh. Press it again. Go again. Because that's what it means to be a defense lawyer. Hi. That means so much to me, Susato. Defendant counsel, court is about to begin. Proceed to the courtroom at once. Okay. As you command, bailiff. You should go in at once, Ray. If you're late, the judge won't hesitate to pronounce you guilty. Oh. Stand aside! I don't think I've ever seen her run so fast. Well, Susato, you certainly surprised your father, going to such lengths to be admitted into the courtroom, and with no prior experience of being a lawyer. There was simply no other way. That's all there is to it. But father, you haven't told her, have you? I mean, I'm right in assuming that Ray doesn't know how it came to this. Yes, quite right. I kept that information from her. And from me, too. What the fuck's going on? It would only worry her if she found out that no other lawyer would agree to take her case. I didn't want to burden her with that. And is it true? The reason why every other lawyer is refusing to take the case? Is it really because of who the victim was? We should be making a move now, too. As you know, law isn't my field, but I do what I can to support my student. Thank you, Father. No one would take her case because she looks so fucking ugly. No, I'm joking. Sato Mikatoba, a judicial assistant. 8 months ago, I accompanied a student of law on a study trip to Great Britain. But 2 months ago, due to unforeseen circumstances, I found myself back in Japan. How many times have I wished that he were here? I wonder. Still, I have no choice now but to steel myself for the trial ahead. Wish me luck, Naruhodo-san. Yay, it's time. It's time. We're back in court now. 13th August, 9 a.m. Supreme Court of Judicature. Courtroom 1. This court is now in session to hear the trial of Ray Membami.
The prosecution is fully ready to proceed, Your Excellency.
Defense counsel, are you ready? Yes, Your Excellency. We are ready.
Ready?
Yes, counsel. According to your registration details, your name is, Ryutaro Naruhodo. Is that correct? Taro.
Sorry?
Oh yes, I had to come up with a suitable male name for you for this little venture. So I'm afraid to say I simply put down the first name that sprung to mind. Well, counsel?
Yes, that's right. That's me. Yes, I am Ryotaro, he who has vowed to uphold the pride of the great Naruhodo clan.
Ah. Seems Ryutaro may need to consider how better to uphold his manly act first, not overdo it. And those wide eyes aren't doing any favors either. Just relax and listen.
Naruhodo? A fresh face in this courtroom, if I'm not mistaken. But the name Naruhodo, would that perchance be?
You may be thinking of Ryunosuke Naruhodo, currently in Britain as part of a study program that is,
His cousin?
That's right, Ryutaro here has been studying in the provinces, but called to the capital for this trial. I assure you, in matters of law, his knowledge rivals that of any of Tokyo's preeminent lawyers.
Any of them? Tut, tut, tut. What a pitiful situation. Having been rejected by every lawyer in the capital, the accused has had to call in a country boy. How dare you! Susato is every bit as gallant and dashing as any of your Tokyo attorneys. I would have you making fun of her. Her? Oh, Please be careful, Ray. What an unrefined tomboy we have here. But I wonder, is your gallant and dashing lawyer up to the challenge of defending you? His wide, skittish eyes very much suggest that he is not. I'm so nervous. Now that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand what Naruto-san goes through. Like it or not, eyes are wont to flit.
The case to be heard in this day is a matter of great significance to our national interests. In fact, it would be reasonable to assume that the outcome of this trial may well affect the very future of our empire.
Just like the trial 9 months ago. And yet for proceedings of such importance, we have this unknown yokel by the dock. Dear me.
Perhaps this would be an appropriate moment for me to assess the defense, to determine whether you are sufficiently competent to practice in this courtroom.
Of course I'm sufficient, man. Look at me. Do you not see my cape, my cap, how gallant and dashing I am? And the old man standing next to me? What more could you ask? When a certain other Naruto stood where you're standing now... Hi!
The same judge tested him as well. Give me my court record, damn it. Even though he was just a student at the time, not even of law, he passed the test with flying colors. In other words, the test was fucking easy. For a trained and experienced judicial assistant like you, this will be easy. So, counsel, do you consent to answering some simple questions?
Oh, where'd my cape go?
Alright, it's time to prove myself.
Yes, Your Excellency. But please do make them simple.
Very well. To start with, you will state the name of the victim.
Ooh, that is simple. Couldn't forget that if I tried.
What's the matter?
Now that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand something else Naruto-san goes through. Like it or not, minds are wont to blank.
Won't? Not surprising, really. It's your first time in this position and in that guise. Even a bright spark like you is bound to flicker and falter a little under the circumstances.
Oh dear, this is a dismal failure.
Don't fret. You'd only use the knowledge you've gained as a judicial assistant to overcome the problem.
Of course, the court record. Yes, the answer will be amongst all the key information about the case in the court record.
That's right. Just use R1 to open the court record. You need to flip to the people section with R1. And don't take too long over it. His Excellency is watching you closely. I wonder if they actually time me. That'd be great.
Alright, check the court record with R1. That's where the information I need will be.
Post-mortem report. Time of death just after 2 p.m. Death is believed to be due to trauma to the victim's lung from a knife blade. Only a single wound was identified. Victim Giselle Brett, female, British. Time of death 11th August at around 2 p.m., so 2 days ago. Ascertained by examination and witness statements. Cause of death, single deep stab wound from behind, piercing a lung and resulting in fatal hemorrhage. Death would have occurred within minutes. Notes, extreme meiosis. Pupil constriction was observed in the victim in both eyes. Meiosis? As if he couldn't breathe? Whoops.
She's dead.
Medical school professor at Imperial Yume University. He is an authority in forensic science in charge of the university's laboratory. He also happens to be my father. Ray Membami, the best friend who works as an assistant to my father in his laboratory at the Imperial Yume University. She's a defendant in this case. She's 16. Damn. We already took a trip to Britain as a 16-year-old? Damn! Giselle Brett, 25, the victim of the case who was a former British exchange student. 9 months ago, she was found guilty of the murder of visiting professor Dr. John Wilson. She was found guilty? I thought she just kind of walked out. So they found her guilty in Hong Kong? Good. Taketsuchi Ouchi, the lead prosecutor of this case, who appears to be struggling to accept the changes afoot as a result of those turbulent new times in Japan, the Meiji era. Alright. I'm waiting, counsel. What is the name of the victim in this case?
Yes!
Hi! The name of the victim who lost her life in this case... Oh god, it's me! I'm dying!
Miss Giselle Brett. Nope, hold on, wait.
Giselle Brett.
Hit the try again button. I must keep farming for Sunset Port medals.
Giselle Brett.
A name that will never be forgotten in the courtrooms of our country, I'm sure. Correct. Ding, ding, ding. And being a member of our Empire's judiciary, you will be well aware of the significance of that name. Ah. So, let me pose another simple question. As you know, Miss Brett was a visiting student from the Empire of Great Britain. Jesus. Great Britain. Why then is her name indelibly associated with our own Empire's judicial history? Obviously, you won't have forgotten that case from 9 months ago. But if it's proving hard to recall the finer points, everything you need is included in the court record.
Obviously, I still remember. That was the start of everything. Giselle Brett, behind the woman's student persona, was the face of... a killer.
Yes!
9 months ago, a visiting professor of medicine at the Imperial Yume University was killed. And the culprit was Giselle Brett.
Yes, she was a killer. At the time, our country had just signed a new treaty with the Empire of Great Britain, and it was in the midst of this delicate diplomatic situation that the incident occurred. An Englishman, Dr. John H. Wilson, was shot dead. I believe he was an associate of yours, Professor Mikitoba? Yes, I was indebted to the man. He'd been my mentor when I went to London to study forensic science, forensic medicine. Indeed, it was I who visited him here to Japan. Jesus. As a visiting professor at the university, I can't read. Naturally, the murder of an Englishman on our soil was a matter the government wished to resolve rapidly. Indeed it was, which is why a secret trial was conducted here at the Supreme Court. A student of the Imperial Yume University was arrested on suspicion of murder. A second-year English language student by the name of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. With the help of his best friend, a student lawyer, the accused conducted his own defense and exposed the despicable crime committed by Miss Giselle Brett. Spoilers, God. What if I hadn't played the first game? I just picked up Ace Attorney 2. Miss Brett eventually admitted to her crime. However, when questioned about the motive that drove her to take Dr. Wilson's life, she gave no satisfactory answer before the trial reached its conclusion. Immediately after the trial, the British government brought its consular jurisdiction into play. We were unable to sentence Miss Brett according to our empire's laws. It was decided that she would be removed to Shanghai, China, instead. Oh, not Hong Kong. Whoops. Why Shanghai? There's a British consular court there. Correct. I oversaw the negotiations personally. The date of her transfer to Shanghai was finally settled upon only last week. Wow! All that remained of our empire's obligations was to see the woman safely on board a steamship. Wow! 9 months!
And yet, the very day before her departure, the Englishwoman was killed! Only the day before.
That will do. I'm satisfied that the counsel for the defense is sufficiently capable of representing the defendant.
Oh. Thank you, Your Excellency. Over the first hurdle.
Now, a summary of the incident, if you please. Prosecutor Ouchie. Praise the sun.
As is your wish, Your Excellency. The repugnant crime took place on the 11th August in broad daylight.
Ooh, nice looking place.
Was then soon tainted by a dead body. On the outskirts of the imperial capital, under a bright blue sky, at a secluded bathing spot by the sea. The incident occurred inside a small beach hut, erected for bathers to rest or change their clothes.
Damn.
The cause of death was a single stab wound to the posterior abdomen that pierced the victim's lung. An injury which proved fatal. There were 2 persons alone in the beach hut at the time of the victim's death. Miss Brett in her bathing attire, and the accused, Raymond Mummy. Accordingly, there can be no doubt of the accused's guilt, especially when we consider she had a powerful motive. The police arrived rapidly at the scene and promptly arrested the young lady.
Well, that extraordinary description of events leaves me somewhat lost for words, I must say.
That's certainly true. The prosecution's summary was full of words that raise an awful lot of questions. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about. Powerful motive, tell me. You're clearly exaggerating. Powerful motive is a blatant overstatement. Tut, tut, tut. Is the yokel boy using long words he doesn't fully understand? I beg your pardon? No matter. Let us put this to the accused, shall we? Membami-san. Son, you are a research assistant at the Imperial Yume University, I believe. Yes, I am. I'm working with Professor Mikatoba in his laboratory at the moment.
I can confirm that. The defendant is an excellent assistant with a strong sense of responsibility.
Fascinating to hear. Now, another question. Prior to your work with Professor Mikatoba, whose research were you assisting then? I was studying under Dr. John H. Wilson.
Dr. Wilson? The visiting English professor who was murdered by Miss Brett 9 months ago? Murdered, I say!
The accused had a deep-seated respect for her former mentor, Dr. Wilson. Is that not true? Yes, Dr. Wilson was a wonderful man. Interesting. Then tell the court what deep-seated feelings you had towards the Englishwoman who killed him. Well, obviously I was filled with hatred for what she had done. A powerful hatred. Ah, shit. Oh no, Ray, be careful of what you're saying. Ah. Foolish girl. Ah, the motive was revenge. Plain and simple, Your Excellency.
Well, it was clearly a trap all along. How wicked of him to use Ray's undying respect for a former mentor against her like that. I must find out more details and something we can use to bolster our defense. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution. Yeah. The bathing spot, giggity. If I may, Prosecutor Ouchie. What do you want, you fresh-faced young yokel student? I wonder, could you explain, please? You mentioned a bathing spot. Ha! My apologies. Clearly my modernity has confused the poor country bumpkin's simple mind. Bathing spots are the very latest trend in health practices from the West. We are told that bathing in the water of the ocean is curative, therapeutic, and excellent for the skin's... No, that's not what I meant. I was referring to the fact that Miss Brett had, to all intents and purposes, been found guilty of murder. Why would a known criminal have been relaxing by the sea? For old time's sake, I believe. Sorry? Miss Brett was to depart for Shanghai the following day. I was also kind of lost for the moment. What does he mean? Her final wish, as it were, was to enjoy a day at our country's wonderful coast. And the British Embassy put extreme pressure on our government to comply. But on what grounds would we agree to such a request? Because, as usual, our government is unable to stand up to foreign powers. In matters of diplomacy, it seems we don't even have the courage to decline the whims of a known criminal. Jesus, who wrote this game? Don't look at me, Professor. It was the government who granted permission, not I. In any case, it was decided that with a dedicated detective on duty, nothing could go wrong. Oh shit, is it Hosonaga-san? But in fact, a murder took place. I said, don't look at me. It was that young student girl who did it, not I. No one has proved that yet. I won't provoke the man if you don't need to. This stage, I need to gather more information, I think. Literally, I just want to talk about the detective now. Membami-san.
Yes, what is this? Naruhodo-san? I'm really starting to wish we'd made my alias Ryutaro Sasato. Please tell the court why exactly you were present at the bathing spot with the victim in the first place, and why you were alone with her. Oh, well, no, that's not true. It wasn't like that at all. There were other people present. A detective who was guarding Miss Brett, for starters. I was just asked to accompany Miss Brett as a companion, that's all. But let us be clear. At the moment of her death, you were alone together with the victim in the hut. You and no one else. The truth is, there is only one reason why this young woman accompanied Miss Brett on her bathing sojourn. Sojourn, my bad. The words are weird when reading them like this in this voice, and not only that, but I'm terrible at the language. It was EQ's last chance to take the victim's life. No. Because, as we know, the following day would see Miss Brett extradited to the British authorities in Shanghai. And the accused would never have an opportunity to dispatch her again.
I'm thirsty now.
Kindly refrain from conjecture, counsel.
I believe we all have a clear picture of the incident now. Despite her guilt being determined 9 months ago, Miss Brett managed to avoid incarceration, instead continuing her research work at the university. Obviously, over that period, she and Ray would have encountered each other on a number of occasions. Seeing the murder of the mentor for whom she had such great respect, enjoying such undeserved liberty. Yes, even if it was only temporary until Miss Brett's extradition to Shanghai. There we go. Words. You could hardly blame Ray for her feelings of anger and resentment.
Poor Ray. So, Your Excellency, if you'd be so kind as to peruse this exhibit. A photographic print that shows the scene of the crime immediately following the grim incident.
Yes, thank you, Counsel. Tragic image.
As you can clearly see, there is nowhere within the hut that anyone else could have hidden.
The court will accept this photographic print as evidence.
Photographic print of the scene taken by police just after the incident occurred. The stab wound on the victim's back is clearly visible.
As I understand it, then, the victim and the defendant were alone inside the beach hut at the time. Wine glass. Feathers from the swan. Footprints here. Wine glass.
Stuff.
A purse. Her dress, probably from what she wore before. Stab wound. And most importantly, the pen in her hand, as if she was writing something. Actually, no. She gripped it very tightly. Interesting. This is deeply troubling, I must say. The finger of guilt points firmly at the defendant.
Well, Your Excellency, naturally the prosecution adds much more to its case. We intend to prove the accused's appalling actions beyond all possible contention. To that end, I can confirm that we have multiple witnesses to the crime and damning evidence. Evidence? Witnesses? But who?
Nani the fuck?
One of whom, I might add, is a highly respected police detective. Yes. I assure you, the testimony of these witnesses will leave no room for doubt.
Ah, yes, quite damning. I was shown no evidence, but already I'm on the back foot. Oh. Sweet, that works. Very well then, counsel. Bring forth your witnesses.
Taketsuchi Ouchi has been waiting for this moment. Sorry? Oh, yes, I haven't forgotten that trial 9 months ago here in this very courthouse, when that irreverent little student boy utterly humiliated humiliated me. Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Yes. This insult to the Aochi family name will never be forgotten.
You've become conceited with age, Council. Though the old have to stand aside and make way for the new. It's the way of the world. May you never forget that.
Strike the head of a samurai whose top knot has been cut, and the bell of cultural enlightenment tolls. Yes, on that fateful day, my former self died. The start of your own mini Meiji revolution. Are you modernizing as well, Council? Silence! Since I swore revenge back then, there has been a minor miracle atop my head. Observe the Aochi growth. You see this seed of hope sprouting forth from the barren expanse of my crown. I think that tiny growth is trying to tell me something. I'm afraid I can't really see. Where's the hope exactly? I said silence! Today I face another yokel student from the Naruhodo clan. Well, I will vanquish you, and my victory will be fertilizer for the seed of hope atop my head. You have been warned. With that, the prosecution calls the witnesses to the stand.
It looks like the stakes are high on both sides in this trial. Prosecution and defense each has much to lose.
A haircut is hardly comparable to Bray's life. What the fuck? What is he wearing? Is that a turtle on his head? Why is
Natsume-san? Ah, shit, he's gonna recognize me. Oh god, I hope not.
Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court.
Chief Inspector Satoru Hasunaga, Imperial Police Bureau. I'm in disguise, obviously, so I can go undetected.
And I am, well, the next big thing in books, an author renowned throughout the capital, in fact. Yes. Soon to be sold out, the satirical I Am a Cat, sensational success by Soseki Natsume.
Who the fuck are you? What's that on your wrist? Man, he's going through that book. He's gonna run out of pages soon. Oh, I Am a Cat actually is, I think, a real book. That's where the whole Wagahai name comes from. I ended up looking it up later. Well, maybe that's something else I'll get to read about on stream later.
Oh my goodness! Struggling student from the provinces, please! You needn't be in awe of me. I needn't? It's only natural that you feel nervous in my presence. But all of you, please relax. Call me Soseki even.
He's actually a real person, by the way, too. I found that out later. Soseki Natsume.
Yes.
What are Soseki-san doing here? Tread carefully, Susato. That author fellow knows you from your time in London, doesn't he? If he exposes you for who you really are, this will be over before it's begun.
Yes, of course, I know.
I presume Soseki-san won't have forgotten about me. I could certainly never forget him. Although he does seem to have changed somewhat in the 6 months or so that it's been since I last saw him. Has he? Looks the same to me. So does Inspector Hosonaga. That amazing outfit is hard to believe. Do I have something on my face? Yes, glasses.
Well, your glasses. God damn it! Although they don't seem to be helping you see. Thank goodness he hasn't recognized me either.
Ah, I suppose it's this disguise, is it? I thought that appearing here in the clothes I was wearing at the time would make for a more faithful testimony. It is my guiding principle to carry out all testimonies flawlessly. Well, I can appreciate why an Imperial Police Bureau detective might have been present. But what business did a writer such as yourself have being at the scene, Soseki-san?
Ah, well, you see, I had been asked that day to give a lecture. on the morning of the incident in the Imperial Yume University's Grand Lecture Hall, no less. At Yume University? After the lecture, I had a very pleasant conversation with a researcher from the medical science department. The professor over there, in fact. With Professor Mikitoba?
Yes, that's right. It was arranged by one of the newspapers. They wanted some story or other about two former students who studied in Great Britain.
Of course, being a renowned author, the press never leave me alone. The secretly spy, snapshot, scribble stories, and scupper my privacy.
Great. Oh yeah, where did I put the fucking chat box? Chat box up here.
Alright. As you can see, the conversation was written up in this newspaper here. Read it at your leisure, my provincial struggling student friend. I have plenty of copies. Thank you very much.
Practically threw that paper at me. So Seki Natsume article has been entered into the court record. The debate became quite spirited, it says.
Anyway, following my interview with the professor...
Before you say that. Goddamn, I can't read any of this.
Hey, a cat!
I see that's what they mean by the debate became quite spirited, you can tell. From this photograph. Hey, why is this... It looks like the camera's cracked.
The lady in question appeared and made a very unexpected announcement. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. Those were her words.
As I explained before, Miss Brett was never taken into custody. She continued to work in my laboratory, under strict surveillance, of course.
At which utterance, the university immediately contacted the government to seek guidance. And the response was, permit Miss Brett to go as long as the detective accompanies her.
The detective I am at liberty to divulge was me, Chief Inspector Satoru Osanaga.
Thereby, the entire party departed cordially for the seaside, it seems.
It was extremely challenging to clear all other members of the public from the vicinity of the beach. But fortunately, I am at peak physical fitness at the moment, so I was able to carry out my duty flawlessly.
Oh my! Inspector, you... Well, you do have something on your face now.
How unsightly. I do apologize.
Does that mean you went to the beach too, Father?
No, fortunately, I had work to finish off. But unfortunately, of course, it meant that, as my assistant, Ray was invited to take my place.
Of course, being a renowned author, I didn't like to decline the invitation. But only if I had! I'd never have seen that awful sight! Relentlessly racked by remorse and regret!
Something's up with the photographer. The photographer did it, right? Well, I must now ask you to present your formal testimony to the court. You will give an account of all that you witnessed on your impromptu excursion to the coast. Of course, Your Excellency. Relentlessly racked by remorse and regret, I am. Witness testimony.
The witnessed scene.
On the day of the incident, I was ordered on a special surveillance assignment in this disguise.
I just managed to catch that crab when I suddenly heard a caterwaul from behind me.
I ran into the beach hut at once, where I found the pair in question.
Yes! That young girl was astride the Englishwoman, dagger in hand, as she stabbed wildly.
I saw blood on the blade. It proved to me that she'd stabbed the victim multiple times.
Oh, shit.
Why does she have the dagger in her hand? No! Indeed, it does appear from this testimony that both witnesses were here present saw it. The very moment of this heinous crime.
What? Now, if you will recall, I promised evidence as well. What phrase did I use again? Ah, yes, that was it. Damning evidence.
What have you there, counsel? A so-called fountain pen, is it? Correct, Your Excellency. I found it at the scene whilst examining the body. It appears that in her dying moments with her final ounce of strength, the victim clutched a piece of evidence that would positively identify her killer.
What? Your Excellency, if you would cast your eyes over the photographic print of the crime scene once more, and using your your microscope eyes, you can see that she's holding a pen in her right hand.
Oh, goodness me! I do see that with my magnifying eyes. Yes, the victim is clearly grasping something quite deliberately there in her hand. That's right, the fountain pen. And if you would kindly examine the pen, Your Excellency. Ah! The owner's initials have been engraved into the ebonite barrel. R.M. Ray Membami. The initials of the defendant.
Why would she have English initials? You know, like English alphabet instead of whatever. No!
The fountain pen will be admitted immediately as critical evidence. The fountain pen has been entered into the court record.
Damn it. So, have I omitted anything?
I can't take a look at it.
Decisive testimony and damning evidence. There's a bright blue sky outside the courthouse today. Perfect weather to ascribe guilt, I feel. I am dead. I don't understand. The prosecutor Ouchie of 9 months ago had none of this man's poise.
Counsel for the defense, you may begin your cross-examination now. Naruhodo-san.
Naruhodo. That means... Oh, yes, me!
Is there another Naruhodo in my courtroom?
Actually, there isn't even a single Naruhodo in your courtroom.
Cousin Ryotaro, pull yourself together, please.
All right, I've seen this countless times as a judicial assistant. Find inconsistencies in the witnesses' testimonies to prove that they're lying somehow. That's all there is to it. That's how a real lawyer would handle a cross-examination. So let's see what I can do.
Let me change the stream title as well. Perfect. Perfect stream title.
The witness scene. The witnessed scene.
On the day of the incident, I was ordered on a special surveillance assignment in this disguise. Why the disguise, though?
In that jaunty disguise.
Correct. Wait. No. I mean, it wasn't the first time I've worn this swimsuit for a dip in the ocean. It's tried and tested. Do what must be done to keep the Englishwoman under surveillance.
And that's why you have a turtle on your head!
Those were my orders that day.
And this tried and tested outfit was the answer.
Being able to blend flawlessly into a crowd is an important part of a detective's job. I submerged myself in the salty water, leaving only Mr. Turtle floating inconspicuously on the surface. Mr. Turtle loves the water.
But there was no need for you to blend into the background on this assignment, really, was there?
If that made you late arriving on the scene, I think perhaps you had your priorities wrong.
Perhaps I shouldn't pursue this line of questioning any further at the moment. Darn, I wanted to pursue it all the way! Catch that crab when I suddenly heard a caterwaul from behind me. I won't ask about the crab.
You know what? Let's ask about the crab. Let's just be safe. Let's ask about the crab.
You're describing the victim's scream, presumably, Soseki-san. In more literary terms, you might say it was a scream that could have pierced the heavens. Yeah! Or the like. Of course, that's just a metaphor. The renowned authors are wont to describing things so. Soseki-san wasn't at all like this in England. Anyway, I spun around at the noise and the beach hut immediately fell under my gaze. Yes, the beach hut.
The area is popular with government ministers. Many have seaside retreats there for rest and recuperation. That's nice. Locals are prohibited from entering the area, so it's always very quiet. The beach hut is a simple structure erected as a place for people to change or take refuge from the sun. Very small.
Although, the Englishwoman commandeered the hut for herself, which meant that I was forced to change into my swimwear on the sand. Ah, I imagine that was rather embarrassing for you.
Well, anyway, I tossed the crab aside and headed for the beach hut at a run. Or, in more literary terms,
I decrabbed and beetled off hutwise. Decrabbed.
Hold it!
so what did the scene look like when you ran to the hut?
Wait, by pair, you don't mean to say... But how could that be?
No, you must understand. Obviously, I meant the victim and the defendant, Rei Membami-san.
Oh, it would have been helpful if you just said that from the outset.
If you jump to conclusions, you have to expect to fall flat on your face sometimes.
Dear me, pinning your hopes on an outside chance. Foolish. Very foolish. It really was an outside chance. I just wish I'd realized that before I said something silly. So, Inspector, why don't you tell the court how exactly you found the aforementioned pair in the hut?
Well, it was a sorry sight. Really grisly scene. I parted the Norin curtain hanging in the doorway and stepped inside only to see the defendant leaning menacingly over the lifeless body of the victim sprawled on the sand. My glasses very nearly cracked the ominous sight that met my eyes.
How thoroughly appalling. He doesn't appear to be lying here. Well, Saseki-san, can you confirm what Inspector Hosonaga is saying, I wonder?
You'd like a literary man's opinion?
Hold it!
Okay. Stabbed wildly. You actually saw her do it.
Oh, indeed. The terrible spectre, the terrapin inspector, the bloody torrent, the author's torment. Every sound is still carved into my melancholy memory. That was my impression, at least, as a future literary sensation.
Counsel, what on earth was that shrill, effeminate scream? Oh, no. No, what are you insinuating? I'm as manly a Japanese man as you.
I wonder if I might interject here, Saseki-san? Something you said is troubling me. That was my impression. Were your words just now, I believe? Whoops, read that wrong. Whatever. Look at the eyebrows go. Twitch.
So, do you mean to say you're not confident that you really did see what you've described? No! I mean, yes! I know what I saw. My eyes didn't deceive me when I heard that scream, hence my eyes didn't deceive me either. I could describe everything I saw vividly. I could publish it all in tomorrow's newspaper serial. It sounds as though the next installment of I Am a Cat may take a macabre turn.
I think this is a fool's errand. The more we press your author friend on what he saw, the more entrenched he's going to become.
Oh dear. How awkward.
Hold it!
She was stabbed multiple times. How can you be sure of that?
Very simply, from the blood on the blade.
That blood?
When I entered the hut, I saw the defendant holding the blade raised up in the air.
Yes, that's right. I saw it too.
Yeah, sure you did.
Oh.
And I noted that there was blood on the blade already at that point. In other words, the victim had already been stabbed at least once by the time I arrived on the scene.
Yes, that's right. I saw it too.
And the victim was already holding the defendant's fountain pen in her hand too. All of which means I can be sure The victim did not die instantly.
Yes, right! Saw it too!
Maybe a year in London was too much for him. He sounds like he's forgotten how to speak Japanese. The logic of your argument is sound, at least. That's not. Well, as I said, it's my guiding principle to carry out all testimonies flawlessly.
Perhaps it should have been your guiding principle to protect the victim flawlessly. That's just my personal opinion, of course.
Counsel, you will refrain from mocking the witness.
Oh no, I just have so many thoughts swirling around my head. That's all I can do to stand here. Why?
By the way, she was only stabbed one time, if I remember correctly.
Single deep stab wound from behind.
Oh yeah, there it is. Only a single wound was identified, yeah.
All I can do is stand here wide-eyed and mute.
Goodness, my dear, you really must try to calm down.
But how am I supposed to find inconsistency in what these two gentlemen are saying? I don't see why either of them would have any reason to lie.
Uh-oh. Did you guys hear that? Oh, God. Oh, God. Jesus. Alright, hold on, wait. I am doing some stuff on Nier. Want to get this done real quick? Wow, I got fucking 4,000 hours. That's a lot. What do I do with all this? Let's buy all this. Buy all this. Oh, I can buy the Black Pearl now. Nice. Sick. Get 3 of these. Alright. So I still got a ways to go. Still got a bunch of this stuff to buy. And I gotta get it all done. It says before the 3rd, but it said that it was leaving later tonight. So that's why I'm doing this now. During stream. It said it's very hard. Number 9. Alright, there we go. Set that up. Let that go. Oh, is it charging? Oh gosh. I just noticed I got a text message from my friend. So we're still not ready to go yet. Let's also set up a note. That was like 56, I think. 56 minutes into the recording. Okay. Oh, it's not true. There we go. Got it going again. Oh, sweet. Yo, I get to stay here and do all this shit. Alright, I don't have to forget my niece today. I don't think I have this set to mute, do I? I wonder why it hasn't been ringing to tell me shit. I've missed like 3 notifications so far on my phone. Uh-oh, did I break Nier? Oh shit. Alright, no, it's going. Okay. Put that down now. And let it keep it going. And now, that also means we can keep it going. What you must remember, I think, is that witnesses may inadvertently lie at times. For various reasons. A misunderstanding, a mistaken observation, a delusion even. A delusion? What's important is that we determine the truth, and that there's only one sure way to do that. Oh, there's only one sure way to do that. I think that's how it's supposed to say. Whatever. It's done now. What's done is done.
Yes, with evidence, of course.
Spoken like a true judicial assistant. During witness testimony, you can use R1 to pick a piece of... So you need to listen carefully to each statement and compare what's said to the details in the court record. You find some conflicting information. That may be the inconsistency you're looking for.
Yes, it's all about inconsistencies.
Once you have identified a witness's statement that appears to conflict with a piece of evidence, present the evidence to the witness with triangle, and the way ahead will present itself to you. I'm sure.
Yes!
Alright then.
I'll consider the details of all the evidence in the court record against each statement to find an inconsistency.
That was a lot of words.
I hope I'm up to the task.
Don't forget that you can have the witnesses repeat their statements as many times as you like. Everyone has to start at the beginning, remember, so those wide eyes are quite forgivable. And besides, there's no one else to defend the poor girl.
You're right. Need to listen to the testimony again from the start.
Objection!
Objection!
Ah, yes. That accusatory cry that just welled up from deep inside me. I think I finally understand. Every time Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san have stood here at this bench, the stakes have been very, very high indeed. What's the meaning of that menacing pose, Counsel? I'd like the witness to clarify something for me. Who? What? Where? When? How? Not you, Sasaki-san. The query is directed at Inspector Hosonaga.
At me?
In your statement just now, you said that the victim was stabbed multiple times.
Yes, that's right. As I said when I entered the hut, the defendant was already standing over the victim, bloody knife in hand, like a murderous demon.
And yet, that cannot be.
What? Get to the point, please, counsel.
In the postmortem report, it clearly states the victim was stabbed one time only.
Ah. In other words, Inspector Hosonagi's testimony is clearly flawed. What, are you getting all choked up now, Hosonaga? And Soseki-san! Me!
You claim to have seen Membani-san in the throes of stabbing the victim.
Yes, I did. Wildly!
But both you and the inspector confirmed the same point. There was already blood on the knife that you saw the defendant holding.
Yes, and?
It's quite simple. We know the murder weapon was used to stab the victim only once, therefore, there's no way there could have been blood on the knife if that single stabbing had already occurred.
Ah! True! Sounds like Twitch chat. What exactly is your contention, Counsel? Are you ever going to tell us?
Yes, Your Excellency. There's only one logical conclusion. What Saseki-san in fact saw wasn't the moment that the defendant stabbed the victim at all, but the moment that the defendant in fact withdrew the blade from the victim's body.
That can't be! Oh, nice. Excellent work, Sasato. You exploded at them with that objection and then proceeded to pull them apart systematically.
Objection! Well, this takes me back. Yes, I seem to remember your cousin staged a scene much like this in that trial 9 months ago. A half-witted child with a half-baked objection attempting to steal the show.
You're right. There were certain similarities. Except that so-called half-witted child managed to outwit the prosecution, who was only half a head of hair.
Slander! My head is quite adequately dressed! In any case, all this talk of stabbing and withdrawing and multiple wounds makes not a jot of difference. What? Why not? Engage your brain, young man. When the accused first plunged the deadly weapon into the victim, that was the fatal blow. And it was that moment, just as she had withdrawn the blade ready for her next strike, that the witnesses saw. The knife was already tainted with blood because the accused had already stabbed the victim. All you have successfully shown with your little display is that the mustache author is prone to moments of extravagance.
I am in agreement with the prosecution. If the defendant was seen wielding the blade at all, that is sufficient grounds for her actions to be viewed with suspicion.
But if she was withdrawing the blade, then we are back to where we started. Sorry? Consider this, young yokel boy. If the student girl is innocent as you claim, then why would she have pulled the blade from the victim? And with the demon's cold-blooded composure, too. The prosecutor demands an explanation, and it had better be good. Why did Ray pull out the knife?
Ah, yes. Going for the jugular.
What does Father mean by that?
Will the court hear your answer then, counsel?
Truth is, I don't really know. I have to come up with a plausible reason here. Oh, we don't have a case. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife blade out of the victim's body was surely so she could...
save her life. That's the only good option there.
According to the post-mortem report, the victim's death was not instant.
That's correct. It's thought that she would have remained conscious for a short while after sustaining the injury.
Indeed, giving her the time to take a hold of this piece of evidence that clearly indicates a killer. The point is, being a medical research assistant, Membani-san was compelled to act when faced with the wounded victim. Instinctively, she pulled the blade out in an attempt to save Miss Brett's life. Did you hear that, Your Excellency? It would seem this is the best we could expect of this young yokel.
Indeed.
Just me, or does it suddenly feel much colder in here?
Your Excellency, if I may. Speak, witness. I would like another opportunity to testify. In respect to the slipshod assertion just put forth by the yokel defense counsel, I mean. Excuse me?
Slipshod? An excellent idea, Inspector. Our young yokel hopeful has a modicum of knowledge when it comes to the law, it seems. But in matters of medicine, he appears to possess not one iota of common sense.
Very well, Inspector. I will permit your request. You will testify again before the court on the subject of the defense counsel's assertion. Yes, sir. I will do so flawlessly. Words are hard, man. Forensic medicine primer. Pulling a blade from a wound without thinking could cause heavy bleeding. That's basic knowledge that any medical research assistant with an ounce of sense ought to know. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. Let's not forget that the young student did have a motive for killing the victim. The man the victim murdered 9 months ago, Dr. Wilson, was the defendant's highly respected mentor.
Damn. You got a lot to say on this, don't you? Is what you just said true, Inspector? Could pulling a knife from a wound really cause the wound to bleed heavily?
Yes. Think of the weapon itself as a stopper in the wound that prevents excessive blood loss. Until the doctor is ready to provide proper treatment, that stopper shouldn't be removed.
Oh, I see. Ha! This is why yokels should stay on the farm. Even a quack from some obscure mountain village would have such basic knowledge. Anyone who's ever given someone a little poke with a knife and pulled it out again knows it. Oh, well, I've never stabbed anyone, you see, or pulled a blade out of a wound, so...
Of course you haven't. I'm gonna bring you up to behave like a bandit.
Father, is it true what they're telling me?
Alright. Yes, it's basic remedial knowledge from medics. Ray would have been well aware of it. If she were to claim ignorance of such fundamentals, that would prove fatal in many ways.
But then, why would Ray have done it? Could she have pulled out that knife in full knowledge that it would be fatal for Miss Brett?
She would if she was actually trying to perform something like CPR, trying to get her to breathe again. Say, like if she were being choked to death? She stopped breathing? Interesting. Interesting. I don't know.
Ray never once mentioned anything about the knife to me. Seems almost impossible to believe, but... could Ren actually have...
Susato!
Yes?
Pull yourself together. We mustn't lose sight of why we're here.
Ah!
Counsel, it's time for your cross-examination.
Oh, yes, Your Excellency.
However, I must warn you that if your cross-examination fails to identify any issue with the established facts, I'll be moving to my education immediately afterwards.
I understand. Believing in your clients and fighting for their cause until the bitter end. I knew it would be hard, but I had no idea it would be this hard.
Start up the chat box for now.
Hold it!
You say doing it without thinking could be a problem. Does that mean if you use due care and attention, it would be alright?
I wouldn't have thought this needed spelling out, really, but... The blade is like a stopper in the wound. Remove it, and a serious hemorrhage will occur. In other words, a medic would need to be present before any attempt was made to withdraw the blade. Doing it without thinking would be madness. You just can't do it.
Oh, well, thank you for such a thorough explanation. You see, Counsel, when you act without thinking, the result is a bloodbath.
Back to the witness testimony, please. That's basic knowledge that any medical research assistant with an ounce of sense ought to know. I think here they're going to try to explain what it's like to pursue
Hold it!
somebody else as they're reacting to the first person. In that case, there's an obvious explanation here, which is
Clearly, the defendant, Ray Membami-san, does not possess an ounce of sense.
What do you think about that, Professor Mikotoba? I'm not sure that you should be labeling your best friend as lacking in common sense.
But I thought it would be better than labeling her as a murderer. I don't know. Young people today. If that's friendship, I don't understand it.
Careful, Counsel. A lack of common sense can be a very dangerous thing.
Oh dear. That recoiled on me rather badly.
That's life, I'm afraid. Lesson everyone must learn. Hopefully you can see now that this is really basic medical knowledge. Being involved in medical research, Membami-san would certainly have been aware of it. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim.
Hold it!
The defendant has suddenly encountered somebody she knew lying on the ground, bleeding to death. The sight could have shocked her delicate sensibilities, causing her to remove the blade inadvertently.
I really don't think inadvertent actions can explain this. The woman is a medical research assistant. Can't imagine she would behave so irrationally. Uh-oh.
Oh, but irrational behavior is a woman's prerogative, isn't it?
What? Oh dear. You have a lot to learn about women. Only a small-minded man could have such bigoted views.
Oh dear. Perhaps I'm letting my male persona take a hold a little too much.
Well, have I managed to convey the basics now? I should cover the medical side of the argument.
Hold it!
Whatever the motive, it just isn't in Mbami-san's nature to do something so awful.
But she had both motive and opportunity. That's very hard to argue against.
But you don't know the defendant.
Attention!
And you, counsel, do not appear to know the law.
Yes, evidence is the only way to convince the court of your argument, not feelings.
With this fledgling to defender, I would almost say I pity the accused. So do I.
Inspector, you will reiterate your point about the defendant's motive, please. Ah, yes. Miss Brett was in many ways a sworn enemy of Mbami-san.
Is there anything else? Death would have occurred in minutes.
Hold
Sure,
it!
press that one too. Why not? Well, yes, that's true. Dr. Wilson recognized Mbami-san's talent and offered her the position of assistant despite her being a woman. She is extremely grateful to him.
Yes, the Englishman appears to have been a very broad-minded individual. Dr. Wilson had no time for outdated traditions. He met with opposition, of course, but he believed firmly in Mbami-san's abilities. Clearly, the defendant was in the man's debt, which only serves to prove my point.
This is hopeless. Can't find a single crack in this testimony anywhere. Frey knew that withdrawing the knife from the wound would threaten Miss Brett's life further. I just can't think of any way to explain why she did it.
Sasato, it's at times like these when it's especially important to remember the fundamentals. The fundamentals. Evidence is what counts in the courtroom, isn't it?
Of course, but I've been through the court record dozens of times already.
I think perhaps you're forgetting something, though. You need to take the evidence at face value. You can and must examine it in greater detail, too.
Ah!
I realize this is your first time playing the role of lawyer in the courtroom. So, if you need reminding of the rudiments, you need only ask. I'll do my very best to help.
Examine the evidence in the court record. It's an idea, certainly, but what should I do? Ah, I should have asked for a refresher. More stuff to read. Come to think of it, Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san were always turning evidence over and over in their hands. Yes, I need to examine things in greater detail with X. Oh, I can finally look at this. If we take off the pen's lid... What's this? There's some sort of emblem here. Look! But it isn't a Yume University one.
Must belong to some other organization, I suppose. A business of some kind. But that would seem to imply that the pen doesn't in fact belong to Ray. Interesting.
The RM initials are very clearly engraved here. If
fact that Miss Brett was clinging to this pen in her dying moments is very clearly a message too.
To identify a killer, you mean?
I don't think there'd be any doubt that this is a key piece of evidence in this case.
Let's unscrew the barrel, shall we? Empty. This must be the little reservoir that holds the ink.
Yes, you fill it by drawing ink from a bottle up through the nib.
Is something wrong, Father?
Just that there doesn't actually appear to be any ink in there, that's all.
Oh, yes, you're right. It's pretty much empty. Could be on the verge of running out, I suppose. Huh. Well. Oh. I can now read this proper. What the hell? It's the bull symbol. Raucous England returnees tell all. This is the interview with you and Saseki-san, is it, Father? It looks as though it was quite an exchange.
Yes, became a little over-animated when he was talking about his time in England. The photographer managed to capture the moment his hand karate chopped me on the neck.
I do hope you weren't hurt. This is a newspaper from Saseki-san. Seems to be an important article on the back page as well. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. From Yume's medical research. Father, isn't that your lab?
What the? Let me see that. The poison's been stolen?
It's this morning's paper that Saseki-san gave us. Are you saying you didn't know?
As embarrassing as that is for the head of the laboratory, I didn't. I've not heard any such thing. Where on earth could the reporter have gleaned his information?
Come to think of it, there was no article mentioning this story in our paper this morning, was there?
The highly toxic poison we've been working on in the strictest confidence. I put Ray in charge of the project.
Ray? She was managing it?
If what's written here is true, it means that she tried to hide the theft from me. And moreover, the details were leaked somehow.
I don't believe it.
We need to read this article very carefully.
Interesting.
Okay, examine things. By the look in your eyes, I see it's coming back to you. Go through the court record again and have a thorough look at everything. You may just find a clue.
Yes, I'll do it straight away.
Uh-oh. Well, I mean, one good reason might be because of the whole IBIT.
Objection!
Nah, apparently not. The witness's statement is definitively contradicted by this piece of evidence.
Is that so, counsel? And perhaps you would care to explain to the court precisely how.
How? Well, definitively?
The contradiction lies in your apparent eagerness to present an empty argument, I feel.
Perhaps I need to reconsider.
Apparently. Well, now that I've examined the evidence... So what am I supposed to do here? What am I supposed to point out? Basic knowledge that any medical research system with an ounce of sense ought to know. No good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. Well, I was thinking about the poison. Let's try pressing this one, see if we get glean anything new.
Attention!
Yeah. But now that I've examined the evidence, nothing really new came up. We know that the pen is empty. It has this strange symbol on it. But that doesn't... That doesn't debate any of, or rebut any of his... Oh, what's this? Okay, time to read something. Exclusive deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. Following a lecture at Yume by Soseki Natsume on 11th August, it's come to light that a very disturbing incident took place. A deadly poison being secretly developed in the university's forensic science laboratory was stolen. Deadly in tiny quantities. Even the smallest amount entering the body, either via the mouth or via a wound from a poison-laced blade, would prove fatal in minutes. Current methods cannot detect a newly developed chemical. The university would have been consulted. Why is a poison being developed? Onset of symptoms occurs in minutes, starting with impaired breathing and ending with acute contraction of the pupils prior to death. Such symptoms would be suggested of this toxin. It's apparently an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids, rumored to have been commissioned by the military. I see. So that's what they want to represent.
Objection!
No, there is one possibility. One very good reason why the defendant might have decided to withdraw the knife from the victim's wound. What? Ha! The yokel not only has a poor grasp of the law, but is also a poor loser.
Tell us then, what possibility do you think you've identified? It's here, in this newspaper article. An article about a deadly poison having been stolen from the laboratory at the Imperial Yume University.
Attention!
The victim perished from a stab wound. Poison has no relevance in this case. But...
Prosecutor Ouchie, We'll let the defense speak.
But a newspaper article? The court cannot rely on this kind of hearsay those wretched publications carry.
Counsel for the defense. I'm going to need some tangible basis for your claim. You will indicate to the court precisely what part of the newspaper article mentioned affirms your assertion.
Your Excellency! Yes, of course. Thank you. I would never have done something to further endanger Miss Brett's life without just cause. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife from the victim's body is explained in the article where it says,
Deadly in tiny quantities, right?
the article reveals the following property about the poison in question. When the toxin enters the body on a knife laced with the poison, it's rapidly absorbed and causes death in minutes.
Are you suggesting?
If the knife used to attack Miss Brett was laced with this very poison, it would explain why the defendant, Membami-san, would have withdrawn the blame as soon as possible. Yes, the truth is, it was an attempt to stop the poison from entering the victim's body.
What? Nani?
Objection!
This is complete and utter nonsense. Not at all. The defendant withdrew the knife blade from the victim's body not to accelerate the woman's demise, but to save her life, and the prosecution cannot deny the possibility. Have you not read the post-mortem report? The cause of death was hemorrhage. The word poison appears nowhere in the document. Well, that's... There. Same one. Okay, deadly in tiny quantities. That's because by acting quickly to remove the blade, the defendant prevented the poison from taking hold.
Objection!
No, please, this is clearly desperation. The weasel's last breaking of wind. Poison has nothing whatsoever to do with this case, as I believe the defense is well aware. We have no proof that the information in this wretched newspaper article is at all reliable anyway.
In that situation, what the student should have done is wait for medical assistance to arrive. But instead, you claim she suspected poisoning and took the potentially lethal decision to remove the blade. She must have had a strong reason for her suspicions then, or the argument makes no sense.
Exactly. Well put, Inspector. What grounds did she do it, Yoku? I did raise suspect stone poison was involved. If you want grounds, I'll give you grounds.
What?
You can't possibly.
From your expression, counsel, it would appear that those are not empty words. But naturally, as you stand in this courtroom as a lawyer, you must be aware that words alone, empty or not, are of no value in our modern justice system. The court demands evidence.
Yes, Your Excellency. Well aware of that. I've seen it many times. My place at his side in the Old Bailey.
In that case, counsel, you will present the proof to the court now. What evidence demonstrates a clear link between this case and the poison in the newspaper article?
Examine.
There it is. Contraction of the pupils prior to death. Do I present the post-mortem report to show the link of the pupils, or do I show the poison article to then explain that it's in the final bit? Duh. This one.
Take that!
I would ask the court to refer to the notes section of the post-mortem report, which reads, extreme meiosis, pupil constriction, was observed in the victim.
Huh.
Clearly, being a yokel with no knowledge of forensic science, I have no idea, so please, do tell me
That my near stuff is done, so I gotta do it again.
do tell me, presumably, the fact that this condition of the victim was noted in the post-mortem report means that it's an unusual symptom of death. Well,
Under normal circumstances, The pupils dilate when someone dies. If there was extreme constriction instead, that's most certainly unusual, yes.
What are you doing, you yokel detective? In the newspaper article, there's the following information about the stolen poison. Onset of symptoms occur in minutes, ending with acute contraction of the pupils prior to death. What? If the defendant, upon seeing the victim stabbed in the back, happened to notice that the pupils of Miss Brett's eyes had constricted severely,
Yes, as a medical research assistant, she would have suspected poison immediately, without doubt.
Prosecutor Ouchie, I think you'll agree this is very compelling evidence. You, yokel student, yokel professor!
I believe the defense has expertly demonstrated a credible reason for the defendant's actions.
No.
Eugene Mikotoba. Yes, Your Excellency. I believe you are best placed here to confirm or deny the veracity of the defense counsel's argument. You will tell the court the truth about the details reported in this newspaper, please. It pains me to have to admit it. But I'm afraid I don't know. You don't know? The toxin was kept under lock and key in my laboratory, certainly, but I was unaware of any theft. Do you mean to tell the court that the reports of this theft are unfounded? No, Your Excellency. Without returning to the laboratory to investigate myself, I couldn't say.
Ha! Listen to the bumbling academic. Unaware of the theft of secret state research from his own workplace till he reads of it in the newspaper.
I take full responsibility for the incompetence of my supervision.
Father? A pitiful situation for a university professor. You should have more control over your students, rather than allowing them off on killing sprees. That's totally unfounded. None of this is Professor Mikotoba's fault. It's all my fault. Ray?
Bami-san, you said accused here. Outbursts like this will not be tolerated.
But it was me. I was the one who noticed the poison we were developing had been stolen that day.
What?
So you knew. I'd been placed in charge of overseeing the project. It was the day that the professor and Suzuki-san were interviewed together for the newspaper. That's when I noticed that some of the poison was missing. Just a tiny amount it was.
Why didn't you let me know immediately?
I was scared. The whole project was supposed to be confidential, but some of the toxin had somehow been taken. So, I decided I'd try to get it back before anyone else found out. Because I had a very good idea who the thief was. The thief? You don't mean? Yes, of course. It was that dainty Englishwoman.
Miss Giselle Brett.
That's why I decided to join the little group of people going to the seaside. Inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. She just sat on a stool at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly at me as if she knew she was untouchable. I know it was you who stole the poison. Well now, whatever do you mean? And then, she suddenly got to her feet, before falling to her knees in front of me and then collapsing on the floor. That's when I saw the knife in her back. I couldn't understand what had just happened. And then, a moment later, I was seized with fear. The pupils of her eyes they'd shrunk into tiny pinpoints.
I don't believe it. In other words, you realized that the victim was suffering the effects of the stolen poison.
My mind started racing. I hadn't seen anything past Miss Brett's lips whilst I'd been with her. There was left only one possible way for the poison to have entered her body. And the blade of the knife in her back.
And that train of thought was what spurred you to withdraw the blade.
Yes, If the amount that had entered her bloodstream was small enough, she might still have a chance. That's what I'd hoped. Really. I'm so sorry for staying silent all this time.
Your attempt to hide the truth of what happened is not something that can be overlooked. However, I have duly noted the courage with which you confessed in the end.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It's barely perceptible, but I do think the balance has shifted a little here, in this courtroom now.
Objection!
Your Excellency, do not be deceived. The victim just collapsed before your eyes, you say? Well, Membami-san, if that is the case, perhaps you could explain how Miss Brett came to be stabbed. Well, you have no answer because the simple truth is that you stabbed the victim motivated by revenge.
Objection!
But you have no conclusive evidence to prove that assertion, do you? Oh, I have evidence, and it is very much conclusive. What's the prosecution counsel up to? It's brief, but he hesitated for a moment there. I'm almost sure of it.
We will produce the aforementioned evidence at once, Prosecutor Ouchie.
Perhaps some praise is due, young yokel student. What? I had imagined there would be no need for me to submit this evidence. But you brought this on yourself! What the? Could a more damning shot exist? The cruelty in the air on that beach is almost palpable. This evidence, more than any other, reveals the true extent of the accused's murderous nature. For it shows the precise moment that Membami-san plunged her dagger into the victim's back. No, that's not true, no! I don't believe it. Ah!
We're doomed. We're doomed. This is definitely evidence of her stabbing her in the back. Counsel for the defense, was it you who was responsible for that shrill scream that just pierced my courtroom?
Perhaps his voice is yet to break. These yokels are slow of mind and slow to mature. I'll show you slow to mature.
Careful now. Mrs. Sato is starting to show her face here. It's often said that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and here we have ample proof. The court will accept this extremely cogent photographic print as evidence.
Incriminating photograph has been entered into the court record. :D. My friend Ray can be seen kneeling over this print. Oh dear. I can't believe he's had a photograph like that up his sleeve the entire time. It's such a stark image, I'm genuinely lost for words. Wait a minute, I don't understand. How did you... who took that photograph? Ray?
Objection!
That's of no importance here. Stop trying to divert attention.
Objection!
That's an absurd thing to say. It's crucially important. Whoever took this photographic print was a witness to Miss Brett's death. The court must be allowed to hear this person's testimony.
I will uphold the defense's demand. The prosecution will reveal the identity of the person responsible for taking this photograph at once.
Well, I'm afraid I can't do that. Pardon? You see, this print arrived at the Imperial Police Bureau headquarters by express post yesterday. There was nothing to indicate the sender's name or address. The provenance of the print is unknown.
Goodness!
I want you to understand, then, counsel, is in full knowledge of the fact that this photograph has the murkiest of origins. You nevertheless believe it fit for submission as evidence in the Supreme Court?
When you first produced that print before, I noticed that you hesitated for a brief moment. Because you knew that it wasn't completely reliable evidence, didn't you?
Silence, you yokel student and blabbering professor! What matters is the blatant truth that this print so eloquently expresses. The defendant has already admitted to pulling the blade from the wound. Clearly, this isn't the moment the knife was plunged into the victim's back, but the moment it was withdrawn. Don't waste this court's time with your ramblings.
Indeed, without knowledge of who produced this print, we have no means of verifying the claim. And the scene it captures is without doubt the most compelling evidence presented to the court. If the defense is unable to shed any further light on the matter, I believe the conclusion is clear.
Oh no!
Susato, this is the time for you to fight. If what you've established so far is true, then there can be no doubt. This photograph shows the moment that Ray withdrew the blade from the victim.
Yes, we just need to prove that somehow. You'll have plenty of time to rue your defeat on the slow train back to the provinces. And to rue the day you came up against Taketsuchi Ouchi in the court of law. I can't determine who took this photograph, and the trial is going to come to an end. There must be a clue somewhere. There must be some way of working out who took it.
Well, counsel?
Your Excellency, the burning question is who took that photograph. And the truth is...
I have the answer.
This isn't about whether I can or can't come up with the answer now. I simply have to. The identity of the person who took this dramatic photographic print is, I assure you, something the defense can and will reveal. What? No, you can't possibly. But if you so boldly claim that you can, please do enlighten us. Unfortunately, I'm unable to present a name. How utterly underwhelming. Did you really believe you could? However, I am able to present evidence. The defense has a piece of evidence that reveals important details about the photographer's identity. What?
Very well then, counsel. Present your proof to the court. Ow. What the hell? My arm. Which piece of evidence do you claim reveals something about the identity of the mystery photographer?
Take that!
Take that!
What is that? The newspaper again? Rocket England returnee tells all.
It's not the headline that's relevant here, Your Excellency. It's the photograph. If you look closely, you'll notice there are some white lines on the right-hand side.
Ah, yes indeed. They had already caught my eye as it happens.
Ha! What of it? A shadow of some kind, presumably from the branches of a tree or the like?
There are no trees growing inside my laboratory at the university, I can assure you.
Now, if you look closely at this photograph...
Good gracious!
Yes, exactly the same pattern of lines is present on this photograph, too.
Objection!
Well, that tells us nothing. Ha! Yes, it's a shadow of some kind, definitely, from the branches of a tree. There wouldn't be any trees growing inside a hut at the beach, Council.
What's quite remarkable about it is that the two patterns are absolutely identical. How could such an extraordinary similarity have transpired?
Simple. The lens is cracked. And the curious matching pattern that appears on both photographic prints is a result of... camera defect. Obviously, it must be due to a problem with the camera used to take the photographs. With the photographic device.
Yes, we can confidently say that the camera's lenses must be scratched, and that the scratched lens caused unwanted lines to appear on every print taken with the device.
In short, the two photographs under consideration here were taken with the same camera. But there must be hundreds of such camera devices here in the capital. It would be utterly impossible to identify the owner of this particular one.
Objection!
I think you're forgetting, Prosecutor Ouchi, that one of the photographs featured in a newspaper article. A newspaper Ah! That's right. The author of that article is the mystery witness to this crime. What?
Minimio. Oh. I see why you're called a raucous England returnee.
What are you yelling about? You've already testified.
It's Menenimo, I tell you. Menenimo. Menemo.
Soseki-san, what was that? Did you say Menemimo?
Ever since I returned to Japan, a reporter from the Shoyu News has been hounding me, following my every move. A reporter by the name of Raiten Menenemo. Yes, hounding me from dawn till dusk. Raiten Menenemo. Writing me a memo? Is that what the joke's supposed to be? His name is writing a memo.
Ah, now that he mentions it.
And there was that guy. Nope, there it was the whole time.
Could that same reporter be?
A camera to the left of him, a notebook to the right. There I am, stuck in the middle with Raiten Menemo. So you're saying that this picture was taken by Menemo? God damn it. such a tongue twister. Menemo. My lord, your excellency, Esquire. Officer, find this newspaper reporter at once and bring him to my courtroom. We will adjourn for a short recess in the meantime.
Oh, yes, Your Excellency. As you say, Your Excellency.
And one more thing. I want this knife, the murder weapon, examined for traces of poison. You will solicit the assistance of the Imperial University's medical department for the task. Understood?
Beta-san? Meh.
Memo! Damn it. How do you say his goddamn name? Menenemo. There we go. To be continued. Bum 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 bum. All right, let's continue on. Let's finish up this first case. 13th August, 10:41 a.m. Supreme Court Adjudicator. Defendant's Antechamber 3. It's actually been kind of 2 hours, while it's only been like 1 hour in game. Weird.
I'm so sorry, Susato. I should have told you about the toxin. Ray.
That's right, you should have. Damn it. I have a strong sense of responsibility, I know. But you decided to shoulder the burden alone.
No, that's not it at all. I was scared of my failure coming to light, that's all. So I hoped to retrieve the substance from the Englishwoman before anyone found out. Before the trial started, do you remember what you said, Susato? That you had no doubt in your mind about my innocence. That you stand by me to the last. I remember. And yet I didn't deserve your trust in me. I hid important details from you, Susato. I completely betrayed your faith in me. Hit me, Susato! I deserve it! No, in fact, throw me to the floor! No, that's too good for me as well! Drag me through the city streets! I'm no better, you know. Oh! Even though in my heart I knew that you pulled the knife blade from Miss Britt's back. There was just a brief moment when, in my mind, I doubted you. Susato! I'm sorry. After I stood here and promised you that I stand by you and always be on your side. I betrayed your faith in me too. And as such, I failed you as a lawyer. Oh, no.
I think the situation has taught both of you a valuable lesson. Placing your unbridled faith in another is no easy task.
Yes, Father. That fact has certainly struck home. Which is why I can see more clearly now. So, Ray. Yes? Can you find it in your heart to forgive me?
She gonna cry.
Oh, Susato. You know you'll always be a gallant, dashing lawyer in my eyes now. Oh, Ray. I was so scared, you know, when it happened. I didn't know what was going on. The Englishwoman was sitting at the back of the hut, listening to what I was saying. I know it was you who stole the poison. Well now, whatever do you mean? And then a moment later, she suddenly got to her feet.
And died.
Collapsing on the floor in front of me, with a knife in her back. It all happened right before my eyes.
And you were the only people in the hut at the time.
That's right. Just Miss Brett and myself. There was no one else.
Actually, that's something I wondered. So the crime scene photo has her wearing a robe. Arm through the sleeve and whatnot. And here... Okay, she's still wearing the robe. But I can see her face now. That's why it looked different. Yeah, look how the reeds are parted here. Just so that somebody could take a picture.
So I just don't understand how she could possibly have been stabbed like that.
Great mystery indeed.
I still can't believe it happened. And that's why I just couldn't bring myself to speak up. It will be alright. However it happened, and whatever really went on by the sea that day, I promise you that I'm going to prove everything you said you saw is true.
Words? Spoken like a true Mikotoba. Now, I think we should discuss what's coming up in the trial, don't you? We don't have much time. We must make sure we have our facts in order.
Yes, I expect the poison is going to come under close scrutiny in the upcoming proceedings.
Oh god. Yeah. Breakfast. It's coming back up. Excuse me.
The police should hopefully have identified it on the blade by now. The trouble is, it's a completely new laboratory synthesized blend of alkaloids. The police won't have any way of testing for it. Oh, I see.
Yes. Without this chemical reagent, it's impossible to detect the poison.
Toxin, my bad. Chemical reagent?
I said a colleague of mine offered some earlier to deliver to the police headquarters. I think perhaps you should have some as well, though, just in case. Yay! I now have this strange chemical that can find poison. What's the matter, Susato? You're suddenly very quiet.
It's this newspaper article. Exclusive, deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. Well, how should I say it?
Laboratory. I'm going to say it laboratory. It's the proper way of saying it.
I'm wondering how the information got out, given that it was a government secret. It was all the Englishwoman's doing. What? It was when the professor and Saseki-san were being interviewed at the laboratory. Come on. A so-called English lady swanned in.
Yeah, she definitely did swan in.
And without any compunction said to Professor Mikotoba, "Oh, Professor, surely your guests would love to hear about your work on the substance there."
Put me in a very awkward position, to be frank. But Saseki-san's curiosity had been piqued, so I had little choice but to give him a cursory introduction.
So then, Saseki-san knew about the poison?
Yes, and it's highly likely that the reporter who was writing up the story about us would have caught a glimpse of the toxin too.
This Minemo-san. By the way, did that reporter join you all when you went to the beach? Oh, no, I don't remember the reporter being there.
Indeed, he shouldn't have been. I'd very much doubt anyone would have wanted him there.
Oh?
No criminal had been given permission by the authorities to bathe by the seaside. Seki-san pointed out that inviting a reporter might be problematic, so the man was sent back to his office.
Yet he obviously didn't go back. He secretly followed the party to the beach and took this very candid photograph. And presumably he posted it anonymously to the police.
Yes. That must be what happened. Counsel, we just heard that the new witness is now ready to testify. The trial is about to resume. Please proceed into the courtroom at once. An actual model for the bailiff. And what of them talking with us, I mean. Time to steal ourselves once again, then. Defense attorney Ryotaro Naruhodo.
Yes! Grace put her faith in me now and told me everything. I can't let her down. I have to prove that what she's telling the court is true. I have to prove what really happened that day.
August, 11:30 a.m. Supreme Court of Judicature, Courtroom 1. Hereby call this court to order as we reconvene to continue the trial of Ray Membami. Prosecutor Ouchi, have you summoned the new witness?
Before I address that question, Your Excellency, I have some very important news to share.
Oh?
What news? Why does he look so happy about it? During the recess, with the collaboration of Professor Mikotoba's laboratory at Yuma University, the police re-examined the knife that was used to end Miss Giselle Brett's life.
Excellent. Admire your rapid handling of the matter.
Oh, too kind, Your Excellency, too kind. I was merely carrying out your instructions, of course.
And the reagent delivered to the police headquarters by rickshaw, so it will be there in good time. But judging by the man's swagger, I fear we might need to brace ourselves for the inevitable.
And, Counsel, what were the results? This dagger, which was so cruelly used to end the life of the victim, has no trace of poison anywhere along its blade. What? Are you sure about that? I would stake the reputation of the police on it.
And with the reagent, the test is extremely simple. I couldn't have made a mistake.
Murder weapon has been entered into the court record. Okay. In short, the accused's feeble excuse earlier has been utterly destroyed. I mean... Huh. The label appears to be written in a foreign language that I don't know.
It's German, so your knowledge of English is going to be of little help here, I'm afraid.
Couldn't you have just written medicine on it in Japanese? Then we'd all be able to read it.
German is the international language of medicine, my dear. But yes, I can certainly see the merit in labeling the bottle in Japanese. Though I'm not sure medicine would be entirely appropriate. Okay, well. Examine that fucker. Ah, yes, this must be the victim's blood.
Oh dear. Blood is never a pretty sight, is it? Having to fight the urge to run it under a hot tap and get it clean.
Always been fastidious about cleanliness, haven't you?
This is something else, Father. So there was no toxin on this at all, huh? How unfortunate. How unfortunate indeed. Ah! Now, the prosecution is ready to call the new witness.
Ah, the newspaper reporter who managed to capture a photograph of the crucial moment. Good. Very well, officer. Bring in the witness.
No trace of poison on the knife. That's really the case. How could the toxin have entered the victim's body? She was seen to not have drank anything, but there was a glass there on the floor. Yeah, here. So, what could this mean? See the kind of opening there. I'm guessing that's where he opened it up to take the picture. It's a pretty good spot to also stab her with a knife. Well, only one way to do now, but move forward. Figure out how she was poisoned. Witness, please state your name and occupation for the court. Write in memo of the Shoyu News. I'm what people like to call a journo. What's a journo, Father? Do you know? Simply a contraction of journalist. I'm there where the news breaks, putting pen to paper to catch those scoops so they're in print the next morning. They don't call me the hero of the Herald for nothing. The nice guy of news. Oh, so, it was you who took the photograph, was it? Well, what have we here? I'm sorry? Oh, brace yourselves, people! Menememo sent us a scoop in the offing. Female student up to foul play, defended by curiously handsome young lawyer in Supreme Court. The readers will lap this up. We'll set it above the fold at 72 point in a 5-leg format from the morning edition. Uh-huh. Right then, let's start with your name. Oh, it's Ryotaro Naruhodo. Next, what made you want to become a lawyer? I want to reform our country's legal system, I suppose. Ryotaro has suddenly become very ambitious, I see. I just borrowed Kazuma-sama's drink for a while. By the way, my name is Taketsuchi Aochi. That's Taketsuchi Aochi. The so-called Dark Horse of the Supreme Court. My objections strike fear to every defense lawyer's heart. No, the readers won't buy that. What? Witness? Yes. What this court demands to know is whether or not you were responsible for the taking of this picture. It was delivered anonymously to the Imperial Police Bureau only yesterday. Yeah, I wouldn't be a joker if I didn't click quick when presented with a scoop like that now, would I? Sometimes stories call out to me. Sometimes I have to chase them down. But either way, you've got to be fast. Fast legs to run with and a fast hand to write with. It's no good if you don't note it down, I always say. That's what I call my metamemoism. Metamemoism? Ah, yes, I remember your face. We met that day when you were interviewing myself and Sasaki-san. Yes, right. That was me. Metamemo again. But you were supposed to be going back to the Shoyu News offices after our meeting. Scoop is, I didn't! Because that Englishwoman's words had piqued my journalistic interest. Miss Britt's words? A criminal, left to do as she pleases, just because she happens to be a British citizen? It's horse dung! This country's judiciary is rotten to the core! The Supreme Court's rulings are what the paper they're written on! The police are just imperial pawns! Stay your tongue, young man! There are complex political issues at play! Huh. Well, anyway, I quickly jotted down those words she said in my memo pad. Did he just take a pencil from his left ear? And then another pencil just kind of popped up behind his left ear? Interesting. Are you ready? I'll read it out. It's all here. Right, here goes. Should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. Serious criminal going on some junket. The people need to know about this. So I decided to sneak after them. I'll get the woman's story so I can hammer her in the press. Do you mean to say that you did indeed witness it firsthand?
The grim scene portrayed in this photograph. Oh yes, I saw it with my very own Jono eyes. From start to finish, through the viewfinder of my trusty camera. Thank you, Madam Memo-san. You will now give a formal testimony before the court. You will state exactly what it is you witnessed on the events surrounding Miss Brett's death. And he has the emblem right there. The camera never lies. The beach hut was made of shoddy old reed screens, so there were plenty of gaps I could see inside through. The English woman was sitting on a stool when the student girl came in and started arguing with her. Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife, throwing the English woman to the floor and she stabbed her in the back. My smoldering Jono spirit burst into flames. Quick as a flash, I whipped out my camera, ready to click. I pulled apart the rough weave of one of the screens and poked the lens through for the perfect shot. Reed screens, you say? Right, you could see them clearly enough in that great shot I snapped. The hut walls were just screens made of coarsely woven reeds. Yes, it allows the breeze to pass through and bring some relief from the summer heat. And it was a breeze for me to poke my camera through and see the whole thing holding up. Ignoring for the time being the appalling invasion of privacy involved, did you witness everything that happened from the moment the defendant entered the hut? Oh yes, I saw it. I saw the whole thing from start to finish. And you say that you took the photograph through a gap in one of the screens. Luckily for me, they were pretty shortly woven. I pulled the reeds apart and thrust the lens of my camera through the gap. Would I get away with it? See, it was a gamble of a lifetime. A tenacity of purpose that's considered admirable in a journalist, I suppose. Run a risk one day, run a scoop the next. That's meninism in a nutshell. At last, it would appear we have a genuine witness to this wicked crime. The evidence and testimony are extremely compelling. I believe we may be close to a verdict. No!
Wonderful news, Your Excellency. Wonderful!
Nevertheless, it cannot be denied. This testimony begs one very large question.
What question?
Exclusive news, starting with photographs, all the makings of an exceptional story for the reporter. Why then was the story never published?
Oh, that's right.
Seems clear to me that there are circumstances at play here that are yet to be understood.
Ha! More pathetic excuses.
Very well then, counsel. Proceed with your cross-examination.
Yes, Your Excellency. There's more to this reporter than meets the eye. He's a trance reporter. He's keeping something about this case very close to his chest.
Literally, it's the camera. Cross-examination. The camera never lies. Okay. English woman was sitting on a stool when the student girl came in and started arguing with her.
Hold it!
What's she drinking?
So you actually saw Bembami-san entering the hut.
That was hard to say.
Yup, but she was raging. Raging like my Jono spirit. And the argument you mentioned, what was that about exactly? You stole it. I ain't seen it. That kind of thing.
Poison, I suppose. The student girl walked right up to the English woman and really started laying into her.
I mean, if she laid into her any more, there would have been eggs.
The man should have been an author. His descriptive talents are wasted on journalism. If they would have laid into him anymore, there would have been eggs. That's great.
But the student's ranting fell on deaf ears. Like a Japanese person listening to English for the first time.
You really have to work out his similes first, though, to be honest.
Anyway, the point is, that woman in the dock was mightily angry. And her temper finally got the better of her, it seems. Dear me. Which was the climactic moment I caught on film.
Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife, throwing the English woman to the floor. She stabbed her in the back. Damn.
Hold it!
Do you swear before this court that you actually saw the precise moment when the stabbing took place? Ha! Precise moment? I didn't see just that. I saw the whole hellish scene play out from start to finish. I have here a simple plan of the beach hut. Perhaps you could use it to explain to the court exactly what you witnessed. Right you are. It's all here in my memo pad. When I first peered into the hut, I'm sure the Englishwoman was on this stool at the back of the hut here. Yes, the accused's own testimony confirmed that. She just sat at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly, is what I have noted down. It's my turn to testify now. Try not to interrupt. Ugh. Then, the next moment as I was watching, the evil student girl entered the hut. After a while, the pair of them ended up in the middle of the hut, arguing furiously. The Englishwoman went for the student, but the girl dodged out the way. And in a flash, plunged a knife into her adversary's back as the two passed each other.
Which is described as a grim crime indeed.
Never sugarcoat the truth. That's what Meminemoism says.
Great.
By the way, Menenemo-san, whilst you were watching that terrible scene unfold before your eyes through the gap in the screen, did it not occur to you to try to prevent the tragedy rather than capture it on film? Journos have to be observers. We can't get involved. That's our raison d'etre. So, you didn't converse with Miss Brett at all? Obviously not. An observer always remains on the outside looking in. That's something to be proud of, is it?
Your Excellency, if I may. Yes, Professor. I think the witness's
What if that ink on his hand? It's blue, right? I'm thinking, what if he took out the ink from his pen? Put the poison in there. Damn. Wow, how would this work? That is super weird.
I think the witness's last expertly phrased statement should perhaps be added to his formal testimony.
Father, what are you...
I will grant the defense's request. Memenemo-san, you will supplement your formal testimony with the aforementioned statement.
Well, nihilism is the foundation of Memenemoism, but I'll gladly prove that my words aren't meaningless. Never once set foot in the hut, nor spoke with the Englishwoman. I was only there as an observer.
Objection!
Memenemo-san, until now, I've had a firm belief that newspapers are in the business of uncovering and publishing the truth. You're spot on there! The press doesn't lie, which is why I'm proud to wear the emblem of the Shoyu News on my arm. In a way, that's more Memenemoism. Sadly, though, it seems the journalists who write for those papers
Don't always share the same passion for the truth.
What are you suggesting with those recriminatory words, Counsel? Memenemo-san, do you recognize this fountain pen? Ah! This pen was found at the scene of Miss Brett's death. In fact, the murdered victim was gripping it in her hand as she died. What are you? If you look at the barrel of the pen, you'll notice that its owner's initials are engraved there. R.M. Interesting, yes. Almost like your name. Right in Memenemo? Yes, thanks for bringing that up, Counsel. The initials of the accused, Ray Membami. Is it a coincidence, I wonder, that your initials are also R.M.? No. Right in Mememo, R.M. That's horse dung. Can't you see? One of the central tenets of Memenemoism is being a pencil user. And yet, as the court will clearly be able to see, on your right hand, There's a very obvious blue ink stain.
It would appear that you must have rather carelessly left it somewhere recently. Your favorite fountain pen, that is.
Horsey Holston! Memenemo-san, is it not the case that before she died, you met with Giselle Britt in that beach hut?
Objection!
Why should we listen to this absurd nonsense? It's nothing but another excuse. Exactly. Sure, your news will stand behind me all the way. I deny everything. There must be as many people with the initials RM as there are stars in the night sky. The defense has neither the time nor the inclination to count every star in the sky. Huh? And there's no need anyway, because this pen has more to tell. Yes, there's another clue. A clue that undeniably proves who its owner really is.
In that case, counsel, the defense will now show the court where this alleged clue lies.
Of course, Your Excellency. The clue on this fountain pen that clearly reveals its owner identity is...
Got it!
As well as the initials, there's also an emblem on this fountain pen. An emblem that you will of course recognize, Memenemo-san.
Oh, goodness me, it's the emblem of the Shoyu News!
In other words, the owner of this pen is an employee of the Shoyu News, whose initials are RM. Suddenly the stars in the night sky don't seem so numerous, do they? Well, Memenemo-san, how do you respond?
What's this? Sorry, there's something that came up. Cool. Alright, we'll talk about it later. No! Order! Order! Explain yourself, witness.
Yeah, explain yourself. Ugh.
So, this is how the mighty Supreme Court works, is it? Using coercive tactics of well-meaning citizens reveal harmless secrets.
I've used nothing but honest tactics.
Alright then, fine. I won't try to hide it anymore. Yes, not long before that grim tragedy unfolded, I, a Shoyu News reporter on behalf of the public, conducted an interview with the Englishwoman.
An interview? You never mentioned this before. When exactly was this?
As I said, it was before that evil little student girl showed her face in the hut. I couldn't have lasted more than 2 or 3 minutes, that's all. It was just a brief exchange. But it came to nothing. And as we Memenemoists say, people don't pay their dues for unworthy news. However insignificant you deem it to be, this court cannot overlook the meeting between yourself and the victim. You will testify now under oath about the precise nature of this meeting and what transpired. Got it. Yes, alright, but on one condition.
Condition?
In all good conscience, I couldn't speak out alone about this. You need to call back the earlier witness, Saseki Natsume-san.
Saseki-san?
Oh yes, according to my notes here, that man has a secret of his own. And brace yourselves, because it's not a harmless one. It's big.
What?
Memenemoism states that one man's secret is every other man's front page story. Very well, I will grant the witness's request in this instance. Officer, summon the earlier witness back to the stand.
Saseki-san? Hiding something?
Impossible. Witness testimony. I asked the Englishwoman for an interview, but she declined, so I left the hut without making a fuss. Then, watching secretly from outside, I saw the woman being stabbed and the other witnesses come running. The detective realized that the victim still had a pulse, so he ran off to fetch help. That's when this writer man here asked the woman a very significant question.
But he didn't say anything about that in his testimony, which is why Memenemoism demands I reveal it now. Wow, what a dickhead. You mean to say the victim? The victim regained consciousness. Well, And when she did, you decided to ask her a question? That's, true. Yes. He did. And that's not all. The woman gave him a very definite answer. The answer that incriminates the accused. This is preposterous. Why am I only hearing about this now? Why didn't you mention this before, you yokel hack? It wasn't even a conversation! Yes, I did pose the withering English rose a question. I don't deny it. But she could no longer speak. She was barely conscious, even.
Counsel for the defense, I expect a thorough cross-examination to be conducted here. This court must and will know the truth.
Absolutely, Your Excellency. Reporters claiming that Miss Brett implicated Ray somehow. What on earth could have happened in that hut?
Cross-examination.
Hold it!
You asked her for an interview, you say? Well, of course I did. I wanted to ask her about the incident she was involved in at the end of last year. About the case in which Dr. John H. Wilson lost his life.
That's not the way I phrased it. Feminism calls for straight talking. Why'd you murder Dr. Wilson? That's how I put it to her.
Yes, that sort of talking is as straight as a ruler.
Ask every question as if you're asking for a menu in a restaurant, I say. It's the best way. Veteran at the paper taught me that.
And how did Miss Brett answer?
With one simple phrase. Mystery is a woman's charm. Ooh, that told me. So I waltzed right out of there.
Really? The thing about that doesn't quite seem to fit together.
You've every room as if you're waltzing in a dance hall, I say. It's the best way. The veteran at the paper taught me that. And watching secretly from outside, I saw the woman being stabbed and the other witness come running.
You just walked in while Hosonaga was there? Impossible. Hosonaga definitely would have saw you. He would have mentioned something about that. He's super. Okay, something's odd here.
Hold it!
That was very persistent of you, considering that Miss Brett had just turned you away.
Persistence wins the prize. Any Memenemoist will tell you that.
Let them think you've left. Then just when they lower their guard, that's when you're swooping for the scoop. And the fruits of your labor are all too apparent in this telling photograph. Though I'm sure the young yokel student would rather not be reminded of this damning evidence. Actually, it's thanks to that photograph that we managed to identify this witness.
And now that you found me, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. I've got nothing to hide.
I'm sure. Please, do go ahead, witness. The court is eager to hear what you have to say.
Try to stop me. There's a story to tell here, and I'm going to tell it. Detective realized that the victim still had a pulse, so he ran off to fetch help.
Hold it!
And Saseki-san remained behind in the hut.
That's right. Yup. Oh, the friend here was a blabbering wreck, shaking all over from his head to his toes, mustache twitching, eyes bulging. What do you expect? You don't know the terrifying troubles that taunted me whilst traveling abroad. Back behind baleful bars. They're coming for me, surely. That's all I could think. I felt as though I were gasping for air, drowning in a sea of cold sweat.
Poor Saseki-san. His experience in London have scarred him deeply.
The world seemed to close in around me. I quietly recited a prayer to Amida Buddha. Eternal emptiness, empty eternity. The end is coming for me, surely. No sutras are to resound in my courtroom, please. And now, we come to the crucial part. That's what happened. That's when this writer man here asked the woman a very significant question.
Hold it!
Levy again?
What question? What exactly does he say?
Well now, you should hear that from the horse's mouth, I think. Don't you, Mr. Riderman?
Ah! Out with it, you yokel hack. What did you say to her? What did you say to the dying Englishwoman?
Well, in truth, I've been catching crabs at the water's edge and building castles in the sand, you see. Well, the seaside is a place to be at leisure, I suppose, even for a grown man. But then all of a sudden, from that little beach hut, a young girl's panic-stricken cries for help pierced the air.
Right.
I ran up the beach to see what was happening, to find the defendant leaning over the collapsed victim. As soon as Inspector Hosenaga saw Miss Brett on the ground, he sprinted off to get help. And then, just a moment later, I heard a faint moan, a moan from the dead Englishwoman. I nearly jumped out of my skin!
But what did you ask her, Saseki-san?
I asked her, who did this to you?
Oh,
Don't protract this any longer. How did the woman respond? She didn't! She said nothing in response!
but...
When in the stand, you will answer the questions asked of you unambiguously. Now, without evasion or reticence, I demand that you amend your testimony. I will! I asked her who did this to you, but she never replied.
Hold it!
So you try to find out who the culprit was?
He who asks a question is a fool for a minute. He who does not remain a fool forever. And having been labeled a criminal twice during my time in Great Britain, I was quick to make up my mind. Better to be a fool for a minute than remain a fool in prison forever.
However, you have indicated that the victim failed to respond. Is that correct?
I know why.
I know why the Englishwoman said nothing.
She was ignoring me because of my stupid mustache. Because I'm Japanese.
Oh dear. Saseki-san has really developed dislike for the English, it seems.
Having read the report on his time in Great Britain, I can't say I'm surprised at his xenophobia. The Englishwoman didn't ignore you at all.
Did she, Mr. Riderman?
Huh? Oh, yes, all right. She did respond in a manner of speaking, I suppose. She just lifted a trembling finger and pointed in the direction of the defendant.
Hold it!
Is that so?
Miss Brett pointed a finger at the defendant.
Seki-san, is that really true? Oh. It's not easy to stand here and say this, but when we first entered the beach hut, the Englishwoman was sprawled on the floor before us, the student girl standing on the far side of her. When I asked, who did this to you? The Englishwoman summoned her last ounce of strength to point a trembling finger at the back of the hut. Which was, it can't be denied, in the direction of the student girl who stands accused today.
No.
Seki-san, why on earth did you neglect to mention this in your original testimony?
But...
Fiddlesticks, I say! This is not a British court of law. You will respond in Japanese.
Yes, of course. The Englishwoman did point her finger towards the back of the hut, but I was trembling, and she was trembling, and everything was a blur. And thinking about it, I feel as though perhaps she was pointing in a slightly different direction. Actually, no, not slightly, in a very different direction to where the student girl was standing. Just up at the back of the hut where nobody was standing at all. You mean that your memory of events and the direction in which the victim was pointing are both unclear? Yes, that's it, unclear. I'm very, very unclear.
Objection!
Your Excellency, surely this proves the matter beyond all reasonable doubt. Yes, the woman may barely have been conscious, and yes, perhaps her finger wavered slightly, but there can be no doubt that this was an attempt by the victim to confirm the identity of her assailant. Why? Because, as the court can see, there was no one other than the accused in the direction the victim was pointing. It is now abundantly clear that no one besides the accused could possibly have committed this crime.
I'm inclined to agree, and in the absence of any credible argument to the contrary, I believe we can now conclude this trial.
No! No!
The headline's right in itself. Dashing lawyer's hopes dashed. 92 point across the whole page. We'll do an extra edition. A serious blow, Sasato. Thus we're able to identify the true culprit and substantiate our claim with evidence. The judge will give his ruling and the trial will be over.
But that's impossible, Father. We don't even know how the crime was committed yet.
Impossible though the task may seem, we have no choice. We must think back over everything we've learned thus far. Somewhere in all those details, I'm confident we'll find the clue we need.
Ray gave us her account of how an event unfolded in the defendant's antechamber before the trial resumed. She told us what happened at the precise moment Miss Brett was killed. The Englishwoman was sitting at the back of the hut, listening to what I was saying. And then a moment later, she suddenly got to her feet before collapsing on the floor in front of me, with a knife in her back. How could Miss Brett have been stabbed in the back in a beach hut that was empty but for herself and Ray? Somewhere amid all the information we've gathered so far, there must be an answer to that question.
I take it then the defense has nothing further to add.
So, the gallant yokel student's luck finally runs out. Can't say I'm surprised.
In that case, I am ready to deliver my final verdict on this matter.
It's a crucial turning point now. We can establish what really happened. It's over. Where was the real culprit hiding? And how did he or she stab the victim?
I know how!
Objection!
Your Excellency, I respectfully ask you to postpone your adjudication for the time being.
Oh? To what end, counsel?
The defense would like to present the court with an alternative theory. An alternative theory that can explain who the victim was actually trying to implicate with her dying gesture.
Objection!
An alternative theory? Ha! None exists.
Objection!
There was someone else present at the scene who could have committed this crime. What? Nutty? And the victim, Miss Brett, tried to reveal who it was to those around her at the time.
And I need to drink some water. Pointing a trembling finger in the killer's direction.
This is fiction. Fantasy.
It is indeed. That's why I like this game. Very well. As you seem so sure of yourself, counsel, I'm prepared to hear your alternative theory. So, young Ryotaro Naruhodo.
Yes, Your Excellency.
You will present your latest theory to the court by means of this plan. At the moment the victim was stabbed, where exactly are you proposing the culprit was concealed? Right here.
Take that!
Naruto-san would never give up. I'm a Naruhodo now. The true culprit who fatally stabbed Miss Brett was concealed in this location here.
Are you mad, counsel? You're suggesting the culprit was outside the hut.
Oh, what?
Order! Order! Order!
But student lawyer Naruhodo-san Esquire, that makes no sense at all.
You just pointed out the exact spot where I was hiding to get my scoop snap. When I see any suspicious individuals loitering about, I can swear to that.
Obviously, if the culprit had been outside the hut, there's no way that he or she could have stabbed the victim who was inside the hut. Actually, Prosecutor Ouchie, there is a way.
Ugh.
And, in point of fact, the defense can provide evidence strongly suggesting that this is precisely the way Miss Brett was killed. You're bluffing. You're bluffing, you yokel.
The defense's assertion is clearly too fantastical for the court to comprehend. You will need to give us more guidance, counsel. What piece of evidence corroborates your theory that the victim was stabbed from outside the hut?
Take that!
Well, I've presented it now. But I haven't the first idea why I chose this piece of evidence.
Counsel, you're suggesting that this piece of evidence bears out your theory as to how the victim was stabbed.
It's something of a windfall, Your Excellency. I think the word you were looking for, Counsel, was downfall.
If your theory is correct and the knife was thrust into Miss Brett's back from outside the hut, there should be a visible trace somewhere.
A trace? Yes, on the hut itself. I'm with that idea. Must look through the court record again. What? That picture was perfectly fine!
Go ahead. What piece of evidence corroborates your theory that the victim was stabbed from outside the hut?
Dude, that piece of evidence was perfectly fine. Look at this bitch. You see the reeds here? See all that? Oh, that's fine! All of it's good!
Damn you, game.
Take that!
The original photographic print of the crime scene.
Yes, it's clearly visible in this print. The trace of the fatal thrust that was delivered from outside the beach hut.
Objection!
Do you take us for fools? There's no hint of any such thing. I'm not sure that everyone present would agree. Someone, at least, appears to have noticed what it is that I'm referring to.
Counsel, once again, I must call on you to be explicit for the court. One of those photographs is a trace of the stabbing, which you claim took place from outside the hut.
Is it this? Are you looking for this game?
Take that!
This big old crack in the wall? Look closely, just here. In the screen at the back of the hut, you can see the effects of a blade having been forced through the reeds. No, I can't. I can't see any such thing. It's true that the hut in question had 4 walls as you'd expect. However, by parting the reeds, a knife blade could easily penetrate them. Holy fucking shit. So could a camera. You know what? And that camera could take a picture.
This is extraordinary.
Yes. The true culprit actually stabbed the victim from outside the beach hut. Ugh. And of everyone present at the scene, there was only one person who could have done that. Only one person who was directly outside the hut when Miss Brett was killed. Right in Menenemo-san. It could only have been you. Oh. No!
Objection!
This preposterous idea leaves me almost speechless. Just look at the photograph again. The victim lies almost exactly in the center of the beach hut, does she not? Are we to assume as part of this farcical scenario that the assailant was a knife thrower?
Objection!
No, of course not. We're not? If you recall the testimony of the defendant about the events just before the victim's death, inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. But she just sat on a stool at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly at me as if she knew she was untouchable. A stool? Have another look at the photograph.
Literally, this guy's smooth brain.
The slit in the reed screen would align perfectly with the back of a person who was sitting on that stool.
My word. So, in fact, the victim was...
killed while sitting on that stool by a stab wound to her back delivered through the reed screen. Ah! Having been attacked, Miss Brett rose to her feet instinctively. But then, unable to speak, she collapsed on the floor in the middle of the hut. Before the defendant, Membani-san's appalled eyes. And that, Your Excellency, is the truth of what happened on the beach that day.
Pow, got him.
Ugh. By your silence, Menenemo-san, I take it that you don't deny the charge. This is absurd!
Sure is, buddy. That will do. It would appear that we have a tacit admission of guilt from the witness. Accordingly, this court has successfully established the truth of this matter, which means that the defendant, Membami-san, is innocent of the crime.
Oh, thank goodness. I finally made him cave.
I must say, I've never been more proud.
No, this can't be. The Ouchie clan can't. What of my growth? My growth of hope? It wasn't an apparition. I can't accept this. I won't.
I see no reason for the continuance of this trial. I will therefore move to conclude proceedings by delivering my final verdict and... Hold it! Is it Soseki-san? Ha! 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 Okay, no. It is Minanemo-san.
Well, this is all very convenient. This is how the highest court in our mighty empire delivers justice, is it? Suppressing well-meaning citizens' freedom to speak and branding them as criminals. But we've established that the victim was stabbed from outside the hut, through the reed-screened walls.
And no one but you was in place at the time to have his hand on the hilt of the blade. It's a perfectly logical deduction.
So, the argument hinges on the location of whoever stabbed the Englishwoman, does it? Well, it seems a little irrelevant now. Irrelevant? Where she was stabbed. How she was stabbed. It doesn't matter. I mean, whether she was stabbed at all makes no difference if you think about it. After all, this trial's already shown the whole thing hinges on something else.
Soseki's like, what?
What are you talking about? Brace yourself, little man. I'm talking about the fact that everything's changed. Because of the dirt you dug up. What?
Enough obscurity. Explain yourself, witness.
What's to explain? Talk about the poison, of course. The poison? Let's ask the professor for a comment on the situation, shall we? I understand that a deadly poison you were developing was stolen from your laboratory, correct? It's been shown that this poison was administered to the victim, Miss Brett. Is that right?
That is correct. The unusual constriction of the victim's pupils are a sure sign that this particular poison was used.
I see. So, presumably that means that the victim already had the poison in her body before she was stabbed. Ah!
Given that her pupils were clearly constricted, it seems highly likely. Yes, if she had been dead already, the poison could not have circulated in her blood.
Oh, thank you, Dark Gale. Thank you for the follow. I hope you're enjoying the stream. Damn it, my thoughts just left me. Oh yeah, I hope you follow me on Twitter and the like, and YouTube. Yeah, sure, we'll just go with that for now. I'm sorry. I totally wanted to say something else, not that. Not the self-promotion stuff. Thank you again for the follow. We're gonna continue here. You're cool, by the way. That's it. That's what I wanted to say. You're awesome. Can't believe I forgot that. Holy crap. Oh my gosh, my head. Okay. How refreshing to hear the argument of a metropolitan mind. Precisely. It matters not a jot who stabbed whom and whose back and with whose blade. Because, quite simply, the Englishwoman's life was taken not by the knife, but by the poison!
Objection!
But that can't be explained by the poison being on the blade, as I already...
Objection!
Forgotten already, have we, Yoko? During these very proceedings, the laboratory of the professor at your side assisted in proving that the blade of the weapon used to attack the victim had no trace of poison on it whatsoever. So let me get this down. The facts, as skillfully established by the defense in this trial, turn out to be a headline-making red herring. Is that about right? Well...
Order! 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 But where does this leave us? How, in that case, did the poison enter the victim's body? There's an undeniably obvious answer to that. The lady most likely imbibed it.
Excuse me. Words are hard, man. I'm not gonna lie, words are tough. You mean she drank it?
Have another look at the photograph here. As you can see, a bottle of carbonated water.
How is that not? How is that not a bottle of wine?
A bottle of carbonated water and glass had been knocked onto the sandy floor of the beach hut. The poison could have been slipped into either.
Somebody made Miss Brett drink it. Well, what do you know? Look at those dashing eyes. This will make for a great front page shot. Hey, why the bewitching stare? After all, I'm the last person you should be looking at. It would make no sense at all that I poisoned a woman, would it? I mean, that's been established already.
Hold it!
Established? What are you talking about? Don't tell me you've forgotten. That's a little hard to believe, given that the person who established it was you. Me? What on earth does he mean? Oh, let me capture those wide eyes. This is a prime press photo, this is.
It would seem that this trial is not destined to end yet, after all. Hereby call upon the witness to give further testimony.
That's great, that is. Let me get a shot of that magnificent beard, Your Excellency.
You claim it to be impossible that you were the one responsible for administering the poison to the victim. You will explain to the court in your testimony the basis upon which you make such a claim.
I'm a journo, and I'm a man. And I never tried to run or hide from anything in my life. I'm not about to start now, because that's memonism. For a brief moment, I thought I had illuminated the truth. Just slipped right back into obscurity again. Yeah, she was not poisoned with the knife. The knife was just kind of, Then how did you know that she would just, like, die at that point? Just where is this trial going to take us? Witness testimony. Complete innocence. Oh, yes, I stabbed the Englishwoman, and it's that very fact that proves that I'm innocent. What? Because why would I have bothered to stab a woman if I'd already poisoned her? When I heard the stupid girl and that pompous English murderer arguing, it got my goat. If the courts weren't going to punish Brett for what she did, someone else would see justice done. What? Bro, are you admitting a motive? So, you admitted then? That everything happened as I described? That you are the one who stabbed Miss Brett in the back through the reed screen? You could blame this miserable country of ours. Huh? Country that bows to the pressure of foreign powers and lets murderers walk free, alongside not understanding the word bow. Or bow, for that matter. Damn! What kind of future can a country like that have? That's why I did it. I did what our pathetic leaders didn't have the guts to do. Slap bang in the middle of that charming lady's back. I plunged the blade of sweet justice right in there. That's what I call my dick. Surprising, I know. It's such a good name. As someone who spends his life seeking that, the truth is told. I feel really, really awful about giving false information in my testimony before. But as it turns out, there was somebody else who had it in for the victim and got to her before me. That's right. You guessed it. That pretty little student girl. There's a woman after my own heart. You're implicating Ray again. She's the one who gave the poison to the Englishwoman and ended her pitiful existence. And suddenly, snap! This journo here is off the hook.
The argument is sound. Certainly.
No, it's not.
The witness admits to the poison himself. He need only have waited for it to take effect.
I mean, motherfucker's already said that he walked in. Or walked into the hut.
Subsequently, stabbing the victim in the back would have been entirely nonsensical.
And therefore, this report had nothing to do with the poisoning. Yes, it's all quite logical. No, it's not. As a detective this whole time watching her, of course, the detective would have noticed this guy at some point in time if that was the case. So that's why she had to put the poison in the drink, walked out, and then made it look like it was a stabbing. So he could blame somebody else. All he needed to do was have somebody else walk in. Didn't matter who it was. As long as it wasn't the detective. That's right, it is. Logical and true. I'm glad you've all seen the light. Justice at last! This is unbelievable. I've made so much progress in proving his guilt. Is he going to get away with it now? This is how you know we're not being serious. We're not doing the double slap. We're just doing the single slap. See, when you know that you were getting serious in the first game, or Yonosuke wouldn't back down from double slapping himself. Think of Kazuma-sama and Naruto-san. They never stopped looking for a way forward until the judge's final gavel. It's damn straight.
Very well then, counsel. Proceed with what I assume to be your final cross-examination in this trial.
Yes, Your Excellency.
Cross-examination.
Hold it!
So, you do admit that you had murderous intentions towards Miss Brett, then?
Ha! Woman's very existence offended my sense of justice.
Your sense of claiming some sort of righteous indignation?
She was pure evil. Cold-blooded killer who committed murder right here on our empire's soil. But did our good-for-nothing government do anything? Not a chance. So I had to step in. Fly the flag of justice, put things right for the people. Yes, it was my civic duty. That's what drove me to do it.
So, in summary, murderous intentions, then?
Whatever you want to call it. The point is this. That Englishwoman was a blight. So I had to do what was right. For society.
I definitely like how the way he's written, they definitely gave him like this
Australian accent, mate.
but he's Japanese, so it's not too far off. After all, Oceania is just, slightly to the south of Japan.
A crime for which he must pay.
Obviously. Because the poisoning was nothing to do with me at all. Because why would I have bothered to stab a woman if I had already poisoned her?
Hold it!
So you still maintain that you didn't give the poison to the victim?
Obviously. That'd be like putting a belt on your trousers when you were already wearing braces like these.
The accused administered the poison, following which the witness stabbed the victim. An unforgivable act, certainly, but not one of murder. That crime rests on the accused's shoulders. That is how the law works, you see, Yoko. Who knows, you may even learn something here today.
2 consecutive attempts on her life in the space of minutes. Quite a day for the victim. You're something that evil. You got it coming. That's how the law works. The law of reckoning.
That's not the kind of law this court upholds.
You will reiterate why you were compelled to stab the victim, then, witness. It got my goat.
Hold it!
My goat.
What exactly were they arguing about?
About what happened in that restaurant 9 months ago. That's what. Student girl was laying into the English woman for killing her beloved mentor, Dr. Wilson. Yes, Dr. John H. Wilson, professor of medicine, invited here from England by Professor Mikotoba, no less. Right, but the English woman just jeered.
Her case was to be heard by the British consular court in Shanghai, however. There is little doubt that she would simply have been acquitted and sent back to her homeland a free woman.
It was eating that student girl up inside. You could see it. I really felt for her.
Really hit him with the holding, huh? Kind of an...
Yes, another witness.
I can't. I can't stand here and listen to this tripe.
Ray, young girl, you stand accused here. You can't just blurt out whatever you feel like it.
No, you can't. Sorry, but I'm in the middle of some very important testimony here.
Just keep quiet and listen.
But this awful man is making all of this up. So please, you have to make them listen.
Who the fuck is Sato? I'm Ryotaro. Idiot. Return to the dock at once, Membani-san. We are in the middle of a cross-examination.
Your Excellency, please, I implore you. That journalist is clearly not a trustworthy witness. Exactly. He's a filthy, rotten, black-hearted, bigoted, dirty, great peeping Tom.
Whoa, take it easy there.
Please.
I really think I need to clean this up. I really think the court should hear what the defendant has to say.
Your Excellency, I see no need whatsoever to entertain the accused's remarks.
I will grant the request of the defense.
But Your Excellency!
This is likely to be the final cross-examination of these proceedings. As such, I believe it would be ill-advised to stifle the defendant's obvious concerns. So, whilst recognizing that this contravenes regular protocol, I hereby call upon the defendant to speak.
Oh! Thank you so much, Your Excellency. I bowed my head so far down low, I almost hit the bench. It was nothing to do with Dr. Wilson. We were discussing the stolen poison.
Hold it!
The stolen poison that killed the victim. I suspected her of being the one to steal it. I mean, just think about how she killed Dr. Wilson.
That's true. Additionally, Miss Brett certainly had knowledge of the new poison. But surely it would be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin being developed for the government. Indeed. All visitors to the laboratory are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out would be very difficult.
That's true. I pestered Professor Mikitoba until he agreed to show me the poison when I visited the laboratory. But as I left, I was searched from top to tail.
Miss Brett rather bluntly revealed the existence of the toxin we've been developing, you see? Since Soseki-san expressed such an interest in it, I felt unable to refuse. Obviously, I gave nothing away other than the fact that it was an extremely potent substance.
I'm very ashamed of myself. I've had a singularly terrible experience with deadly poison. I wanted to look my old enemy in the eye. Surely you can understand that.
No.
To find out if my suspicions were true, I confronted Miss Brett about the poison. I told her that if there were to be an incident involving it somehow, it wouldn't just be the university. The military would be dragged into it. The whole government, even. It would be a complete disaster.
Excuse me. And how did Miss Brett respond to your concerns?
She just curled those beautiful lips of hers and said she didn't know the first thing about it. In English, actually.
Ah, yes. Eminemo-san, one small question if you don't mind.
I do mind. Can't you see I'm busy?
Clearly you were outside the beach hut listening in whilst the defendant and Miss Brett were conversing. Presumably, then, it was you who wrote this article about what you'd heard. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. The story was published in this morning's edition of Shoyu News. The details are too accurate for it to have been written by anyone else. Sorry, don't know what you're talking about.
Yes. Look at this. The entire article is almost what I said to Miss Brett, word for word. Ugh. Well, Memenemo-san.
The journal, and as a citizen of a free country, I don't have to reveal my sources. That's a founding principle of Memenemoism.
He's clearly right about this. That reporter did write that article, and he based it on what he overheard from outside the hut.
Excellent. What he gleaned by eavesdropping. Okay.
So that's what it was all about. You were trying to cover up the fact that you were listening in. That's why you came up with that stinking story about me arguing with her.
Shut up! My stories never stink. Look, whatever you say, little girl, doesn't alter the facts. Your Excellency, there's something I want to say, and I want it to go on record. Very well. You may amend your formal testimony. The point is, if he poisoned someone, there'd be no reason to then go and stab the person as well.
Is that so?
Hold it!
Perhaps you doubted the efficacy of the poison and sought to make sure your victim would die. So we still have yet to answer the question, why the hell was she holding this? That's horse dung. What? That would be like pouring pepper on your Chinese ramen before you even tasted it. Completely reckless. Although, it might surprise you to learn that I am a bit of an impetuous pepper pourer as it happens. Once the victim had taken the poison, she was only minutes away from death. And yet, this man then proceeded to stab her in the back as well. There has to be a good reason for that. There was a reporter who gave the poison to Miss Brett, then clearly he must have done it prior to Ray entering the hut. Yes, that's undeniable. Between him leaving the hut and the victim being stabbed, there was one very crucial change in the situation. Sorry? What change? The reporter overheard the conversation between Ray and the Englishwoman. Yes, that's it. That's when Menemo-san first found out exactly the exact nature of the poison he'd used. That would be the key here. The victim had unwittingly taken the poison already. The reporter would have no reason to stab her. That's actually a good point. Reporter Menemo-san based it on information from the eavesdropping. Onset of symptoms occurs in minutes, starting with impaired breathing and ending with acute contraction of the pupils prior to death. This is all stuff that he learned from them just talking. Even the smallest amount entering the body, either via the mouth or via a wound from a poison-laced blade, will prove fatal in minutes. Is that what he thought he was doing? His pen, right? Because the way he licks the tip of his pencil, that's always very reminiscent of like licking the tip of your fountain pen. Here, let me turn off the word button. Okay. Let's continue on. On the face of it, that logic sounds entirely reasonable.
There's no question that this man was responsible for Miss Brett's murder.
Think of a plausible explanation as to why he might have stabbed her even after the poisoning. Feel sure that everything will drop into place. That's what we should be looking for.
Yes, I agree. In order to do that, let's try to glean more information.
Am I supposed to present the information I gleaned?
Objection!
Sure am. Well, I can think of one reason.
What?
But before I explain, I'd like you to confirm something for the court. Did you glean all the information for this newspaper article from what you overheard from outside the hut?
Oh,
Of course he did. There can be no question of that. After all, when we were all in the laboratory together, all we were told was that it was a terrible toxin. There's one more important fact to consider. According to the witness, Mbami-san's verbal attack against the victim began as soon as she entered the hut. In other words, it would have been impossible for her to have slipped the poison into Miss Brett's drink.
Objection!
Where are you going with this, counsel? Eminemo-san has made it quite clear that he observed every single thing that happened in the beach hut. If the defendant had somehow found an opportunity, this man would have seen it.
ugh. Which means that Miss Brett couldn't have imbibed. How the fuck do you say that? The poison whilst the defendant was present. In fact, it must have been administered to her before Mbami-san entered the hut. And it's very articulately put.
When I walked into the hut, I immediately started to press Miss Brett about the poison. At which point, Eminemo-san overheard some worrying information. Worrying information? What worrying information? The information which he subsequently included in his newspaper article, namely, that the poison was being developed in strict secrecy, and that it couldn't be readily obtained.
Absolutely. In fact, that's quite an understatement. The only possible place it could come from is my lab.
And furthermore, anyone afflicted by the poison would exhibit telltale signs in death. The extreme constriction of the pupils. And yes, it's quite stark when you see it. There are other poisons that show similar symptoms, but not among new substances that are undetectable. In other words, it would be clear that the victim's life had been ended by the use of this particular poison, which would reduce the number of suspects to only a handful of people.
Ah! Everyone in my laboratory is aware of the unique properties of the toxin we've been developing. None of them would be foolish enough to attempt to use it for some nefarious deed. Mbami-san being no exception.
Therefore, we can conclude that whoever administered this unique poison to the victim was a layperson unaware of its telltale properties. In other words, someone like you, right in Menimum. It was you who stole the poison from the laboratory that day, and it was you who administered it to the unwitting victim. But you quickly realize that was a terrible mistake. Because the poison caused such unusual symptoms and was so traceable. As you listened in from the far side of the beach hut's thin walls, you learned of these facts. You'd already given the victim the poison at that point. It was too late. So you hatched a plan to disguise your mistake. A plan that involved stabbing the victim in the back through the reed screen.
Objection!
But what good could that possibly do? Isn't it obvious, Council? The plan was to kill Miss Brett before the poison could take effect.
Oh. Once in the blood, the poison causes the onset of pupil constriction. But he had hoped to precipitate the victim's death before that happened, hadn't he?
Exactly. Because without any revealing signs of the new secret poison's use, no one would ever have suspected.
This is extraordinary.
Yes, the effects of the poison meant it would be too easily identified, so the killer had to mask its use, which he attempted to do by plunging a knife into the middle of the victim's back.
Order! 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 The argument presented is sound. The court is satisfied that it warrants consideration. Does the prosecution have a counter-argument it wishes to push forward? Put forward?
Well, there are a number of... yes, I counter completely.
Objection!
The prosecution's evasive response clearly shows that in much the same way as he nurtures the remnants of his top knot, he is clinging to lost hope. Lost hope?
Ah! You pathetic, useless, fallen samurai!
Fallen? Who are you calling fallen?
I don't need a counter-argument.
What are you talking about?
It should be blatantly obvious. I stole the poison, you say? Gave to the victim, you say? Stabbed her, you say? Lots of fine theories. But I don't need a counter-argument, because you don't have an argument yourself. Where's your evidence? Yes, you make it all sound so plausible, don't you? But without evidence, it means nothing. Whereas I base my news on facts. Facts? What do you mean? Explain yourself. I mean, what the professor said earlier in this trial. It's all here. My many memos. Every word. Every slip of the tongue. All noted. That's what the Show You News is famous for. It's the power of the printed word. But surely it would be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin being developed for the government. Indeed. All visitors to the laboratory are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out would be very difficult. How's that then? Blown the story wide open. See, I, Wright Menemo, a mere reporter from the Show You News, couldn't possibly have stolen that poison from the professor's laboratory.
There can't be any question of it. He must have stolen the poison that day. He stole it and used it to kill. If that's the case... As you've identified, the poison itself is the definitive evidence we need. Because whoever stole it from the laboratory that day is the true culprit here.
What's your point, you annoyingly handsome country bumpkin?
My point is this. There's one way that you, Menemo-san, could have stolen the poison that day.
Ugh. I've heard enough verbal conjecture now, thank you. What the court must be shown is evidence. What proof do you have that the witness stole the poison on the day in question?
On the day in question, huh?
I am going to just
Take that!
use the pen. Fuck you. Oh my god, I can't believe it. I was right.
The proof, Your Excellency, is this fountain pen.
Oh, a fountain pen? How can that possibly be relevant?
What am I playing here? Aw, man. I'm playing some Ace Attorney. These magical pens somehow seem to have enough ink to write many thousands of kanji characters. I believe they arrived in our country for the first time some 15 years ago now. Ah! I swear by a weasel hair calligraphy brush and nothing else. These newfangled pens are merely a fad. How you doing, Tamahome? Tamahome? Oh, God. How do you say your name? Well, as a forward-thinking man of words, obviously I love my fountain pen. Succubus. A Susan? Soupçon? A sumptuous ink and one's work is awash with words in the blink of an eye. Yeah. Thanks, man. As you can see, I just read. I don't say too much. Don't really give too many of my thoughts while I'm reading. Although to be fair, I kind of came up with this thought earlier. We're now discussing how he could have stolen any poison when, even after leaving the area, you'd be searched from head to toe. In which I just say, well, you had a fountain pen, and oddly enough, your fountain pen was empty. What if, you replace the ink somehow? Just somehow the poison. Tamahome? Home me. Or home. Okay. Tamahome. Yeah. So, either way, thank you for showing up. Thank you for saying hello. I appreciate it a lot, Tommy. It means a lot to me. Anyhow, let me continue on. Yes, indeed. I'm actually surprised you decided to tune in. Yes, part of like several different discords. So I suppose, Tama, that would be Thieves' Den, right? Thief. Time to go look around. There's Shine. Shine. Ah, there it is. The one from Europe then. It's just immediately the first one I pull up on Discord. I was all like, let me check Shine first, the European Discord. All right, and the European Discord, the European FC. How you been? Fountain pens have a small reservoir in the barrel, to which ink is sucked up through the nib of the pen in order to write with later. What does all this have? What's all this talk of sucking up ink have? Ah! And just as it's possible to suck ink up into the reservoir, it's also possible to eject it through the nib again, of course.
My word. Can this really be?
See, there we go. It can really be. Been away for a week, man. I'm just thankful that today is like, I got everything I wanted done like earlier in the day, and then I get told that everything else I had planned for like later today, which was go pick up my niece, or like go and visit one of my old friends that he's legitimately old, 84. He needs help every now and again. Both of them don't need to be done, so I can just sit here and game. I'm actually planning on heading over to Destiny 2 and seeing what's new in the week for Destiny 2 after I'm done here with this first case. Pretty cool. 324. Oh, I won't. Write that down. Ow. Damn it. I'll remember to edit this out of the, oh god, what's it called? Out of the VOD. There we go. Alright. That's good, man. Absolutely nice, the game.
sit down and play games all day. Ah, that's the dream. That's why I'm streaming. I figured that since I'm only good at playing video games and nothing else, that I might as well just try to share my experience. Playing games is fun, especially when you have a game like this. Excuse me. Sorry. You drink some more water. As I'm about to reveal Killer. Well, Menenemo-san. Oh. Ugh. When you saw the deadly poison before your eyes in the laboratory that day, you used your fountain pen, your very lifeblood, to steal some of it, didn't you? By siphoning the poison up through the nib and into the pen's reservoir. Ah!
Objection!
Thank you. Thank you very much for the follow as well, Tama. I hope you do come back every now and again, as I'll be playing like a whole slew of different games as time goes on. I'm hoping to really expand what we do here. I got Borderlands 3 done. I'm hoping to get that back out onto the YouTube channel. I just have them set to private. By the way, I got a YouTube channel where I just put all my archives, so if you feel like you really wanted to watch something that I did, I'll at least have it there on the YouTube. You can find the links in the panels down below, or you can even type in !YouTube to find out. But either way, thank you for tuning in. Hope to catch you in the next one. Keep your mind sharp. Stay safe out there. And now we continue.
More absurdity. That never happened.
True, we've heard that there were procedures in place to prevent deaths like this from the laboratory. Also, I just realized. Yeah. Whoa. Okay, that'll be fine. Anyways, would anyone have thought to look inside a fountain pen of all places? No, I'm a little ashamed to say that for fear of offending our guests, such a detailed search would not have been conducted. Well, this is quite startling, I must say. I remind the court that this pen was found in the clutches of the victim when she died. In other words, it was dropped at the scene by Menenemo-san. So, the crucial question is, when exactly was the pen dropped? Are you suggesting? The natural conclusion is that in your haste to act whilst the victim was distracted for a moment, you dropped the pen after you emptied the poison from it into her glass.
Objection!
There could be any number of alternative explanations. For example, the witness could have been using his pen to write down details of its conversation with the victim. And when shocked by one of her outrageous answers, the pen fell from its quivering hand.
Objection!
No, that can't be. If it was, how do you explain why the pen was devoid of ink? What? As you can see for yourself if you examine the evidence, there would appear to be no ink present in the reservoir. One newspaper reporter goes to interview someone with nothing in his pen. No, the pen was dropped after the poison that filled its reservoir had been emptied into the victim's glass.
Witness, what do you have to say in your defense? So this is how our modern justice system works, is it? So what if the ink in my pen runs dry? So what if my pencil snaps? Oh god. I can always claw my way back into the game. I have plenty in reserve. Ah! You claim I sucked the poison up into my pen. That's wild speculation, nothing more. You thought you could bring down a fine, upstanding citizen with a trick like that? Think again. Looks as though it's going to take one final decisive blow to finish this matter. As I see it, the situation is now very simple. It rests upon whether or not this witness did indeed steal the poison on the day in question. And therefore, it all depends upon whether or not the defense can prove that he did with evidence. I mean... yeah? Ha! No such evidence could possibly exist.
Objection!
Menenemo-san, this is how our modern justice system works. What?
In the courtroom, evidence is everything. Something you would do well to remember. Because we are well past the point of speculation at this stage, I assure you.
Oh! Very well, then. I call upon the defense to present the aforementioned evidence.
This is it then? This will be the final piece in the puzzle. The defense can prove by means of this item that it was the witness's pen that was used to seal the poison.
Take that!
Counsel, what is that bottle?
This bottle contains a unique chemical reagent that can identify the poison in question.
Oh man, there's going to be a lot of work after this. Okay. Yes, that poison is an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids developed by my colleagues and I. It would be impossible to detect traces of it by any other method.
Or, from another perspective, simply with this chemical reagent, anybody at all could check for traces of the poison.
A reagent? What?
One drop of the contents of this bottle on the tip of your fountain pen, Nemo-san, is all it will take to solve this case beyond all reasonable doubt.
No, you can't. I won't.
Your crimes are bad enough, but at least know when to admit defeat. Your Excellency, the defense requests permission to carry out the test on the fountain pen at once.
Oh. Ah. This isn't my fault! The Empire drove me to this! Trying to hold its head high as a civilized nation! I took up arms in the form of the mighty pen! All in the name of justice and righteousness!
Sasato, with me! I'm there. Hiya! Did I do it right? That was a Sasato takedown, wasn't it? Not quite. That was a Ryotaro takedown. The instant the first drop of the reagent touched the nib of the fountain pen, it was clear to everyone present.
I saw it there in the lab. The poison. It just get hold of me and I decided to do it on a whim. I excused myself and emptied all the ink down the sink in the bathroom, washing the reservoir out carefully.
And then you waited for an opportunity to suck up some of the poison, didn't you? Into your fountain pen.
Yes, that's right. Answer me one thing, Nemo-san. Why did you steal it? For what purpose? Isn't it obvious? To find out what it was made of and expose it in an article. I mean, it's a secret project after all. Too juicy for a journo like me to pass up.
Then why did the English woman end up dead?
I went into that hut intending to quiz her on her situation, that's all. As a reporter, a known killer, enjoying full freedom, evading justice by leaving the country, I told her what I thought about it. She just laughed in my face!
Oh, what's this? A Far Eastern caveman purporting to practice journalism? Really, you must learn the difference between reporting and listening at doorways, you ignorant plebeian.
What did you call me?
This country, with its pretensions to a justice system, to a free press. It's really very depressing. You see our superior ways in the West, yet you lack the mental capacity to emulate them. Get out of here, you oaf. Get out and crawl back into the cave you came from.
That's when I remembered. The deadly poison I happened to have in my pen at the time. What a terrible fate. What a terrible tale. My head, I knew I should just get out of there as quickly as possible. But I couldn't. Couldn't let her get away with what she'd done. She clearly had no remorse at all. I suppose it was my journey spirit getting all fired up.
I'd like to ask you something.
Yes?
You often talk about justice. But surely as a journalist, you could have used other means to deliver the justice you sought.
There's no justice in the press.
Sorry?
After that trial 9 months ago, I kept digging and digging to find out what had happened in the courtroom. And finally, I discovered the truth. It's a cover-up. That's what it was.
A cover-up? What do you mean?
I want to remind you of your position, witness. Be careful what you say. Oh, come on! Doesn't it strike you as strange? We're suddenly not allowed to convict a foreign national? Consular jurisdiction which should never have come into it. If that puffed up English woman was going to sail away into the sunset a free woman! The only possible explanation is that, behind the scenes, some deal had gone down between Britain and Japan.
What sort of deal?
I've done my research. Dug up all the dirt. It was all ready to be published. But you know what happened? The editor just tore the article up. He came under pressure from the government. You mean? Our government is going to let criminals walk free. They're going to crush the free press. What choice do I have but to see that justice is done myself?
Let's not forget Menenemo-san. That you committed murder yourself, and you tried to lay the blame at the defendant's door. I'm sorry, but you know better than Giselle Brett.
What?
The truth is, you have no right to talk about justice at all.
I suppose. It would appear that we have reached a conclusion in this trial at last. Counsel for the defense, Ryotaro Naruhodo.
Oh, yes. Sorry, Your Excellency. Just musing in a manly way here.
It's almost unbelievable this is your first experience of the Supreme Court. It was an excellent performance. In truth, it very much reminded me of your cousin's exploits.
Oh, Naruhodo... Ryunosuke, you mean?
The way you handled the trial 9 months ago, and the way you handled this one, gives me hope that we are genuinely entering a new era of justice in this land.
It's very flattering, Your Excellency.
Hearing the defense you put forward today made me feel most keenly that the future of our justice system will be forged by you and your contemporaries.
Thank you.
So, Prosecutor Ouche, do you have any final thoughts?
Prosecutor Ouchi? I, Taketsuchi of the Ouchi clan, have been bested by a callow youth not once now, but twice. If there was any shred of my former self left, it has withered and died here today. Gosh, your journey to cultural enlightenment sure took a while, didn't it? Silence! Rather than living on in shame, I will end it all now with this blade. For that is the true path to Ouchiism! Ouchiism?
One hopes it's the only way in which he'll be modeling himself after the witness.
Sprig of my topknot, the time is right for farewell. Hope is lost forever. Taketsuchi.
beautiful. Truly beautiful. Elegant. F's in chat. For Taketsuchi's Shred of Hope. Seed of Hope. My bad, that's what I call it. Seed of Hope. Now, in regard to the defendant, Rei Mimbami-san.
Yes, Your Excellency.
I have reached my final verdict. I hereby find you not guilty. Court is adjourned. August, 2:38 p.m. Supreme Court of Judicature. Judicature? Defendant's antechamber 3.
It's over. My heart's still pounding in my chest, though. I feel like I can just stay standing. Lawyers have such great responsibility. Such a great burden to bear. Don't they, Naruto-san? Susato! Susato! Thank you! Thank you so much! You were so dashing in there! Rei and Father. Honestly, I'm so touched by everything you've... Oh no, you're going to cry. It wasn't easy, but together, we made it. I was on the verge of tears at the end, too. The only reason I'm still here is because of you. Oh no, I can't take all the credit. I took courage to tell the truth. It took courage to tell the truth in there. You did wonderfully, Rei. So I'd have to say that congratulations belongs to you. Susato, don't be so standoffish. Sorry? We're friends, equals, and the trial's over. So no more of this formal super humility nonsense. It's time to celebrate with swagger. Throw caution to the wind. Caution to the... What? I'm the great defense lawyer, Ryotaro Naruto, and I'm taking you out to a milk bar tomorrow. Or something. Right, I see. I'll, think about it, Rei. At any rate, we really knocked the wind out of that horrid man. It felt so good. Yes, it was satisfying. It really was. Isn't there anybody else we could throw together?
I hope you're not looking at me, Rei.
Oh, my goodness! No, of course not! Of course not! Ah, there it is at last. Rei's lovely smile.
You fought for your friend to the very last. As your father, I'm extremely proud of you. Defense attorney Ryotaro Naruto.
Thank you, but I couldn't have done it without your help. Anyway, it's time to bid farewell to Ryotaro, I think. I shall miss him in a way, but it's back to Susato Mikotoba now. So, I'll never see him again then. What a terrible shame. What? What is happening? Ah, Soseki-san and Inspector Hosonaga. I do hope you've been keeping well.
Is that really you?
Yes, I had to change my appearance for, well, obvious reasons, I hope, but it's me, Susato Mikotoba.
Don't. So dashing, so divine. No! Doubly dashing, yes, and devilishly divine. Just look at you! I had no idea, Mrs. Sato-san Esquires, that you were locum student Naruto-san Esquire's cousin. Astonishingly astounding ace attorney!
Poor Soseki-san. So confused. I still remember the first time I ever met him. He was in a prison cell in London. What an extraordinary conundrum it was that the unwitting student from Japan found himself embroiled in. After Naruto-san's skillful defense at the Old Bailey, Seki-san was free to return to Japan. And now he seems to have earned himself great fame as an author.
I'm stunned. That's a truly impressive disguise. Even I had no idea. And I'm a chief inspector at the police bureau who came up with Mr. Turtle, no less. I'm not sure you should be admitting to that, Inspector. Amazing. You're a woman of many faces, I see.
Just two, really. This was a once-in-a-lifetime event. I hope. Oh, I'm not a patch on you, though, Inspector.
Well, I am a professional, of course.
I do worry about Inspector Hosonaga sometimes. I really do. 9 months ago, when he appeared here at the Supreme Court to testify, he was undercover, disguised as the head waiter of a restaurant. And then on the steamship to Great Britain, of course, disguised as a sailor to keep us safe on the journey. But that didn't help you, did it, Kazuma-sama?
From my perspective, I have to admit that I have mixed feelings about all this. I mean, now the truth has been lost forever.
What do you mean?
I'm talking about the murder that the Englishwoman committed at the end of last year.
Ah, yes, it was an English doctor she killed, as I understand it.
Dr. John H. Wilson? Yes. The men I invited to Japan personally. The mystery is, why did she kill him? And now that the culprit herself is dead, we'll probably never know the answer.
On the voyage to Great Britain, we had a most unexpected encounter with Mr. Herlock Sholmes, the great detective, I mean.
Yes, I remember Mr. Sholmes well, of course.
Ah, my arch nemesis. How lightly you utter his name. Well, according to the stories published about him in the Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, the detective once had a partner who helped him solve crimes. A best friend. And that man was an exceptional doctor of medicine by the name of John H. Wilson. What? Dr. Wilson? I just can't believe that it's a coincidence. I think the English doctor of medicine killed here in Japan 9 months ago must have been the friend and partner of Mr. Sholmes. That's really true. And the poor girl won't ever see her beloved father again.
As you know, I traveled to Great Britain once myself to study. It was around the time you were born.
Yes, grandmother told me about it.
On returning to Japan, I took up my professorship at the Imperial Yume University. But I also serve another role, as an advisor to the government on diplomatic affairs.
Yes, I was aware of that as well.
In that case, I'm sure you understand. There are some confidential matters I cannot divulge to you.
Could you just tell me one thing? Why did you summon me back to Japan?
Huh?
It's been 2 months now since I returned. When I left England, it was because an urgent telegram had arrived from Japan. It said that you'd collapsed with a high fever and you were growing weaker by the day. What? Where did that news come from? That's what I'd like to know, because after that long sea voyage, I found you in fine health, Father. Is there something in Great Britain that you perceived might inconvenience me in some way? Or harm me? That's really the only explanation I can think of.
Dear me. Do you reserve your most cutting glares for your father, Susato? I'm sorry, my dear, I simply can't. Ah! Let me go!
Minonemo-san? So, one throw wasn't enough for you.
One last thing to say before they take me away. Professor! Me? I know the truth. I know you had a hand in what went on. That visiting student's fate. Visiting student? Giselle Brett, you mean? No, not her! The student of law who left for Great Britain 8 months ago.
Student of law? He must mean Kazuma-sama. What are you talking about? What does any of this have to do with Kazuma-sama?
Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. No, the guy never made it to England. He died on that steamship. That he'll never...
Ah! Oh my god, the judge! Look!
Well, I didn't expect to find him in here. What were you officers playing at? Terribly sorry, Your Excellency.
The judge threw him?
I was coming to tell you that the rickshaw has arrived. Yujin, it's a good job I came by. Yes, thank you for dealing with him. I'll be there shortly.
Oh, Your Excellency.
The trial is over. I'm not Your Excellency anymore. Merely your father's friend, Sashiro Jigoku.
Oh. Wait a minute.
May I say that since I saw you last, you seem to have taken on a more dashing appearance. Susato?
Did you know all along? From the start of the trial?
A judge sees everything, Susato. I couldn't let you take the risk if Sashiro here hadn't known and then he'd recognized you. So I had a word in his ear beforehand, as an old friend. So, Sashiro, shall we? Yes. Having ruled on that case, we have various diplomatic issues to address.
Before you go, Father.
Sorry, my dear. We shall have to return to our earlier conversation at a later date. Well done again, both of you. You did admirably.
Oh, thank you very much.
What did you think of my Sashiro sling, huh? It's been a while since I sent a man flying like that.
Whatever could Father be hiding from me? About Giselle Brett? About Dr. Wilson? And now it seems, going to the reporter. Kazuma-sama. I'm going to bring this up with Father sometime. When nobody else is around. Judicial Assistant Mikotoba-san, Esquires, could I have a word? Oh, yes, of course, Sasaki-san. What is it? I think perhaps it could be fate that we're meeting again like this now. You see, there's something I need to tell you. Oh? I believe that it may be related to the reason why your father summoned you back from England. This I have to hear. Please, Sasaki-san, tell me at once. I will! As you know, my time in England was terrible. First, I have no doubt. Such awful things I was embroiled in. Thank goodness locum student Naruto-san Esquire stepped in. After he secured my freedom, I couldn't wait to get on a ship back here to my homeland. Having arrived in Japan, I submitted a report about my experiences in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The next thing I knew, I had a visitor. It was your father, Professor Mikotoba. He wanted to ask me all sorts of things about my report. My father? He seemed to be especially taken with a particular part of the report. Anyway, he left eventually, having thoroughly quizzed me. But it was the very next day that he sent a telegram to you asking you to return to Japan. Wait, what? Oh, that's right. It was a couple of months before we even had another case. Oh, shit. What was it then? The particular part my father was interested in. Oh, I don't really know exactly. But do you remember them? Those two terrible cases I was caught up in? Of course. I could never forget. Your father's concerned himself mainly with the second case. The second one? You mean the one Mrs. Sholmes forbade any of us to talk about in public? Which is why the only case involving you that any member of the public is aware of is the first. Well, I don't care! I don't have to listen to what that dastardly detective says. Anyway, the point is, it seems that case somehow holds the key to all these curious unanswered questions. That horrific, hideous, heinous case. The case of the haunted lodgings. That case somehow caused my father to summon me urgently back to Japan. The whole business was over.
It seems I was wrong. Perhaps that was only the start. The story is not yet told.
So, the mystery of that English woman's death is solved, thank goodness. And having stood in the Supreme Court now, I think I can comprehend a little better. How you must be feeling as you fight for people's freedom in a foreign land, Naruhodo-san. But actually, I'm writing to you today because of another matter. I met Soseki-san and we talked about that second case he was involved in. Father has said nothing to me, but I feel certain of it. That case holds the key to some great unsolved mystery. My notes on the case should still be in the office, tucked away at the back of the shelves on the left. Perhaps you might like to look over them again. Today, for the first time this year, it feels as though summer has arrived. The sky is a brilliant blue. It makes me long to see you again. Yours, Susato.
Memoirs of Clouded Kokoro. Oh my. I can't believe it. Okay. And with that, that's where we're going to mark the end of the Ace Attorney game. Or the Ace Attorney stream. So, YouTube, thank you for watching. I hope to catch you in the next ones. Keep your mind sharp. Stay safe out there. Bye-bye.